Okay, my dudes, we are live. Let's get this going. And we are going to be doing, you know it, 2021 fantasy football drafts, not mock drafts. These are real money leagues. I'm sure that everybody in here knows this already. And if you are new to the channel, congratulations. Congratulations on finding this fantastic content that you have been looking for I don't know how long now. Now, really quick, before you miss out on the opportunity to see this again, you need to go down there, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live next. That way you can come out to these drafts. And a little known secret, we are live streaming every single night with real money fantasy football leagues until we get to the start of the year. So that should be it for that announcement. Let's just get this draft going. I mean, I'm feeling good. I am feeling ready tonight. I was well rested last night, got a solid 8 hours. So y'all can tell I have the energy. We got to watch some football just now. Now, also, y'all can tell we have a beautiful, beautiful sign behind us of Underdog Fantasy provided by Noah G. Hopefully he's in the chat right now. Let me pull up the chat. I'd imagine that he's out here. I'd imagine. Noah G coming out says, yeah, baby. Yes, sir. Guys, please, if y'all like these signs, if you like the new studio, make sure you give him a massive thank you, like the highest quality thing that I would have ever imagined coming through the mail. I never thought we would have anything like this. So y'all need to go down there and thank Noah G, because this was 100% on him. Literally, I did nothing, not a single thing. He did everything. So please thank him, guys. Please, please, please. Okay. And Caden says, is that a fathead? No, this is not a fathead. This is like hardcore metal sign, like legit. Okay. So that should be it. I know we want to get excited about the live stream. CMC says, hey, Mason, can you check out one of the tournament teams I drafted if I sent it on Instagram? Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Say, hey, Mason, I donated at the beginning of the stream. Can you check it out? And I'll give you my thoughts on Instagram. I'm not going to be doing team breakdowns like that again this season. I'm not going to be doing it on the live stream just like that. We do team breakdowns literally every single day through podcasts on Patreon. So definitely, if y'all are going to want a in-depth podcast breakdown of whatever draft you have, go to Patreon. Don't necessarily donate through a live stream, just because I don't want to have 300 people in the live stream. All of a sudden, we're all looking at your team, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we'll break down teams as we go through and as we draft them on the stream. But if they're going to be sent on Instagram, I'll break it down for you tonight. Just make sure you shoot me a DM and let me know. Okay, so the pacifier comes out, says Underdog logo looks awesome. Yes, sir. Let's get these Underdog drafts going. Okay, I am too excited to do anything else, to be honest. Let's get the first link out. The first link y'all know is going to be sent over there on Patreon. So we got that out, and I imagine it's going to get filled like this. And what's great is Underdog Fantasy, they got us a $10 lobby going. They got us a $10 12-man league. So now we can run these $10 drafts that I know a lot of people wanted, because up until now we've been doing like $50, $100, $5, and really nothing in between. So now we can get some $10 drafts. I think it's a really good price point. And guys, if y'all want in one of these drafts, you know exactly what to do. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Let's get the 101. Let's get the 101. Come on. Okay, so we get the 111. And with the 111, we're going to try to do something a little sneaky here. We're going to try to go out and we're going to try to mix it up a little bit. Maybe y'all wouldn't expect how we start this draft, but I mean, I have some things up my sleeve. We've been drafting all day. Y'all know that's literally all I do at this point. While yes, I'll quote unquote do research and make videos, the majority of the time I'm just drafting. I'm just focusing on my drafts. So let me close out this Discord stream, and I will get a link out in the live chat right now if y'all want to hop into our next draft. So of course, if you want to hop in our next draft, go to Underdog Fantasy, the link that I am sending out right now. Let's close that. And on Underdog Fantasy, when you make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, I tested it out this morning and I got clarification from Underdog earlier today. That glitch is still there, and that glitch is going to be there for a very long time. So if y'all want to take advantage of this glitch, when you donate, when you deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy, you actually get in return $25 added to your account with promo code FLOCK. Our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 rankings, our 2021 tiers, our 2021 Dynasty rookie draft guide. All of those are going to be continuously updated leading up until week 1 kickoff. This deal is going to be valid literally forever. So just make sure whenever you're watching this video, all you have to do is shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord. I check them all like that. And you just have to send me the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. That way I can go through and that way I can confirm that you did so and you use promo code FLOCK and I can get all that over to you. Hundreds of pages of information. Literally, we could be selling this draft guide for like $80, but Underdog Fantasy is the best. I want y'all to really check it out. This is the perfect partnership for the channel. So make sure you're taking advantage of it. And Senior Skittle says, thanks for the veto. Oh, okay, I'm assuming that's in the Flock 20 whenever you made a mistake with the Dynasty trade. Yeah, we had a mistake in the Flock 20 Dynasty Patreon League where I guess that the trade was like someone trading a first for a second, third, and fifth, something ridiculous. And clearly it was a mistake. So if it was a mistake like that and you let me know right away, I'm always going to go through and fix it. Okay. So now let me make sure we sent that out. I don't know if I ever sent out the link for Underdog Fantasy in the live chat. The link will be in the description. The link will be in the comment section. Y'all all know. Okay, so looking at this draft so far, no real surprises. I know a lot of people new to the flock are going to go, oh my God, Devontae Adams at the 104. That's where Devontae Adams should go. Derrick Henry goes behind Ezekiel. I actually have Derrick Henry ranked at the 106, so I'm perfectly fine with that draft pick. I know a lot of people think that Derrick Henry should be going significantly before then. But yeah, let's switch this over. Let's look at who we are going to have available to us. So at the 111 here, I kind of want to mix some things up. So Aaron Jones goes. So we have a couple different options. I think we're going to really let Brady 12 Clark dictate what we're going to do with the 202. So here I'm going to take Stephon Diggs. And let's switch this over and see where he's going to be going with his 2 picks. A lot of times you see the team at the 112, the 201, they actually go receiver to start it off. Now I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. This is a league where you do have to start 3 receivers. It's also a best ball format as well. So that is going to play into the roster construction and our picks at the top. Okay. So Calvin Ridley at the 201. Honestly, now that Ridley goes, I think that we are still going to stick on script. I want to try some new things out. So y'all know we do $50, we do $100 drafts all the time in these streams. I want to go through, I want to try out some new things. So in this $10 room, let's try something out. Let's go receiver here with a DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to really lock this in. And a big thing is in this format where you have to start 3 receivers and at the same time, it's best ball. So receivers are extremely valuable. If you get caught on the wrong side of a receiver run, it's going to be really scary. So what I've been doing a lot of drafts, to be honest, is going wide receiver heavy, Kareem Hunt in the 6th round, free money. I mean, Kareem Hunt is the literal cheat code. Being able to get a Travis Etienne and a Kareem Hunt in the 5th, 6th round in almost every single one of my drafts is allowing us to go out and get these elite receivers. Now, I will say in a room like this with people kind of knowing exactly what we're going to do, it's going to be a lot harder to pull off that strategy, but regardless, we're still going to try because this is what I'm doing in the real leagues that I'm in every single day, the real money that I'm putting up even when we're not on the live stream. Okay, Highlight says, let's go. I made it in the draft. My man, let me know what username you are. Let me know who you are in this stream. We got JN. Okay, I'm assuming you're Highlight. Never mind it. Ignore me on that one, my man. Highlight Nitro Crazy. I believe that's a new person. Uncle Trey, Deezinators, Chimichanga, CDJ. I believe that's new. Lost Camp, regular. ALS Warrior. He's been out here with us before. Senior Skittles, a longtime member of the Patreon flock community. Brady 12 Clark, don't necessarily recognize the name. Maybe he has been out here before, but the first draft that we do in every live stream is filled through Patreon. So the first draft, you're always going to see the regulars out here. It's the drafts that we get going after that. That's when the YouTube chat comes in. That's when everybody that's subscribed to the channel that wants to draft with us, that's when they can come in, try to take our money. Okay. Scott says, Kyler in the 5th for the stack. Hey, Scott, let's pipe it down. You know a big reason why I wanted to draft DeAndre Hopkins there. You know why I love DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, so here you have CeeDee Lamb at the 211. Okay, that is intriguing. So the receivers that are still available when you see CeeDee Lamb go off the board is going to be a Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper. So really the only receiver I would consider taking over CeeDee Lamb there, and I'm not even saying you need to. Keenan Allen, possibly intriguing. It's really going to be up to you with the decision you're making on that front. But I think that CeeDee Lamb at this point is a clear choice over a guy like Terry McLaurin, which we've said all offseason. But I mean, I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that McLaurin may not necessarily be the wide receiver that a lot of people thought he was when they were drafting him alongside Justin Jefferson here over Keenan Allen, over CeeDee Lamb. Now, of course, if Terry McLaurin falls to the 311, I will be taking him. I will be taking him. Okay, Jacob says, just signed up using Flock. How long does it take to typically receive the guide? Literally, once you shoot me that DM saying, hey, Mason, I signed up with promo code Flock, and you show me the email that you signed up with, that's going to be crucial. All it really takes is me to go through, check that out, and I send it right away. Now, I'll say, since we're live streaming, it's going to take me probably about 2-3 hours just because we're on the live stream, but I'm sending them all out after the stream right now. And if you're watching this as a video later on, I check probably like 3 hours or so, every 3 hours. So I'd say on average, anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 hours, it's going to take for you to get your guide. But if you're watching right now, just because I'm live streaming and I'm not going to be able to send it out in the middle of the live stream, I'll say it's going to be a little bit longer than that. Okay, so McLaurin does go at the 306. You have a team here with Deezenators starting off a running back heavy out the gate. Robert Woods goes at the 307. I personally have Robert Woods ranked over Terry McLaurin, but I'm fine with anybody deciding to go with Terry McLaurin over Robert Woods. Okay, so if we're talking about running backs falling to us, once a J.K. Dobbins goes off, there's really only one guy that I have in mind that I would get really excited about drafting at this turn. But to be honest, with some of the receivers that are going to be available, I may be fine to just go with the receiver. So let's look at this. So obviously we started with a Stephon Diggs and a DeAndre Hopkins. So you have Amari Cooper go at the 309. See where Senior Skittles goes. He started off with Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson. So I will be completely transparent. Now that Mike Evans goes off the board, I am not going to be interested in a Patrick Mahomes on a team where we start with Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins. If we started with either Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, then sure, we'll go get Mahomes at the 3-4 turn. But instead, I think when we do have a DeAndre Swift falling to us, I think we're just going to take DeAndre Swift here as our running back one. Now, we're mainly just going through and betting on the fact that he is going to get a significant amount of targets out of his backfield. While, yes, he's not going to see every single touch in that backfield due to the role that Jamal Williams will have. He's going to be very similar to Aaron Jones and what Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones were in Green Bay. Now, the only difference is, while, yes, he's going to play behind a great offensive line, I mean, the quarterback play isn't going to be there. So, really, the overall ceiling is going to be capped just based on the amount of trips that they're going to get to the red zone. But I'm confident in DeAndre Swift being a running back too. And when we have a Stephon Diggs and a DeAndre Hopkins locking it down at receiver, I mean, we're fine going through with that. Now, Brady Clark gets our guy in Chris Godwin. Y'all know I want Chris Godwin falling back to us at the 402. And Mahomes goes at the 401. So now it's going to be down between Cooper Kupp and Chris Carson for us. And I think that if this was going to be a league where we only started 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end, there in that scenario, we are going to go with the Chris Carson. But in this specific format, instead, I'm going to be going with the Cooper Kupp to get 3 wide receivers. Now, if we did not have a DeAndre Swift falling to us as well, and we had started with 3 receivers, say we took instead of a DeAndre Swift at the 311, instead, if we would have taken a Chris Godwin, there we would have gone with a Chris Carson at the 402. But I'm a big fan of Cooper Kupp this year. Someone that, I mean, you should expect the touchdown volatility to kind of swing back in the other direction. And here, ALS Warrior comes out and he has way more balls than I do. He comes out 4 wide receivers in a row. I'll say in a tournament style on Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy offers some contests where you can win $1 million at the top, or you can go through and you can win $200,000 on the top, depending if you're going to do a $25 or a $5 contest. If I was going to be in one of those, I mean, I promise you, I know there are people out in this live stream that I drafted with earlier today because I am just out here drafting 24/7 that they probably saw me with a lot of starts where I went 4 receivers in a row, especially if I get a Devontae Adams at the top of the draft. I really like going 4 wide receivers in a row and then pushing the other positions around later on. But in this specific league where instead of having to just go for the most upside possible because it's not a tournament, you do need to keep in consideration the guaranteed touches that you're going to get. So for that reason, and knowing that these drafters skew a little more running back heavy than what we're going to find in the public formats, I think getting a DeAndre Swift there at the 311, probably the right call. And guys, if you have yet to go down there and if you have yet to drop a like on the stream, make sure you're dropping that like. And let's go. Teresa says, your boy Mecole Hardman caught a touchdown tonight. Oh yeah. And I will say, I made a video earlier this morning that's coming out on Sunday about Mecole Hardman. And I know a lot of people are just going to go, Mason, you're only making this video because of the preseason. Y'all know I'm a fan of Mecole Hardman. So I made a video going in depth just kind of debunking all the myths that are circulating around Mecole Hardman, how a lot of people are talking about the 2 wide receiver set, and I talk about why it doesn't necessarily matter in this instance. So I have an in-depth video coming out about Mecole Hardman. So while a lot of people, I mean, if you look at ESPN leagues right now, literally in ESPN leagues, people are taking Jalen Reagor, Corey Davis, and T.Y. Hilton over Mecole Hardman. That is ridiculous. Now, drafters on Underdog are significantly smarter, so Mecole Hardman is going over those receivers, which is something that I actually go through and talk about in that stream. But I am interested to hear your opinion on that. Okay, so David says, how big of an advantage is getting a quarterback wide receiver stack opposed to not getting one? So essentially, the explanation, it's the easiest thing for me to give in going through and trying to decide to stack your quarterback and receiver in fantasy is we just have to view fantasy football as a numbers game, because in reality, that's all it is. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, it's you trying to evaluate football. It's you going out there and who knows more about football. I view the game as it's who knows more about numbers, who is the best at understanding a range of outcomes and the probabilities that get attached to that, and how you construct a roster based on those probabilities. And here with the stack of a quarterback and a receiver, what you're mainly just accepting is you're accepting the fact you're going, you know what? We're playing in a 12-man league. So there's only going to be one winner of a 12-man league. So you have an 8.333% chance to win your league. And knowing that, you only have you have a 92% chance that you are going to lose the league, a 92% chance. So we're trying to do anything that we can to raise that 8.3% up closer to 20%, because I can tell you right now that if you are a high volume fantasy football player, now, of course, if you're playing in just a few leagues with your buddies, if you're playing in a league with your high school buddies, you're going to win way more than that because your buddies have no idea what they're doing. I'm talking about real leagues with real money on the line. Then if you can get close to 20%, that's going to be great. And how we want to try to go through and get closer to that 20% is we want to start building in correlation to our lineups. So it makes a lot of sense to go through, and once you make a bet, like when we drafted DeAndre Hopkins here at the 202, it makes a lot of sense to go, okay, if we're going to hit that 8th percentile outcome that we win the league, what has to happen? DeAndre Hopkins has to be a pretty damn good pick at the 202. So if DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a pretty good pick at the 202, what else does that mean? That means that Kyler Murray was probably a pretty good quarterback this year. So if Kyler was bad, that DeAndre Hopkins pick was bad, but we're most likely losing the league anyway. So here, when we're on the clock, it's going to be a very easy decision for us after we take a DeAndre Hopkins to go with the Kyler Murray, because if Kyler Murray gets injured, it doesn't really matter. We lost the league anyway with DeAndre Hopkins. If DeAndre Hopkins gets injured, it doesn't really matter because we lost the league already. So going through and just getting in that correlation, going, if both of these players hit, nobody's really going to have a chance against us. I really like viewing the game through that lens and going, yes, we're lowering our floor, but at the same time, we are raising our ceiling. And now we do have Kareem Hunt going off. So now that Kareem Hunt goes off, we are placed in a very difficult decision where y'all know Mike Davis, I think I literally have only drafted him in one league this entire year. And that was at the very end of the 6th round. And that's when he was a consistent 5th round pick. Mike Davis, a do not draft player for me. So we're going to draft someone that we very rarely have drafted so far. We're going to take a Jerry Jeudy. Now, Jerry Jeudy, a great talent in a horrible situation, not advising anybody to go out of their way and draft him that often. But the problem is we're just kind of stuck in the middle and going, we're in no man's land at the wide receiver position. There are about 10 different guys we could go with. And y'all know I'm going to play in like 250, 300 leagues this year. So if I'm playing in 250, 300 leagues this year, I kind of have to, in these no man land spots, diversify just a little bit, because while yes, I do prefer a Laviska Shenault over a Jerry Jeudy, if I'm making that decision every single time, I'm going to have Jerry Jeudy in literally 0 leagues, which I'm fine with in some instances, but in other instances, I'm not. Like a Mike Davis, a Kyle Pitts, those players, I'm fine straight up punting. But here with the Jerry Jeudy, you do see it in the range of outcomes for him to actually put up a decent season. So we are going to have to draft Jeudy at the 602. Noah coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, in Dynasty, should I trade Nick Chubb in a second to get J.K. Dobbins and a 2022 first? Yes, you should. Simply, yes, Nick Chubb is going to project to be a lot better this upcoming season, but you're looking at J.K. Dobbins drafted in last year's class. He was drafted in the 2nd round, so that means he has 4 years attached to that rookie deal. He's only in year 2, so he has 3 more years of guaranteed touches in Baltimore. And to go along with this, we know generally that those running backs that have that team investment are going to end up getting that extension. Whereas when those running backs get to their second contracts, which we know that Nick Chubb was drafted in 2018, but he was actually drafted at 22 years old coming out of Georgia due to the significant knee injury that he actually had. So Nick Chubb is a little older for running backs that were drafted in that 2018 class. So I will say that Nick Chubb is not the same long-term type asset that a J.K. Dobbins is. And the difference in production isn't going to be night and day. So if you're getting a first-round pick on top of J.K. Dobbins in a dynasty format to go out and sell Nick Chubb, I'm doing that every single day of the week. It would be different if it was a running back that was a clear tier ahead in terms of the production that we are going to have this year. Like if it was someone like a Dalvin Cook or an Alvin Kamara, then you have to sit here and think about it. But I think the points per game difference that you're giving up between switching from a Nick Chubb to a J.K. Dobbins is not that much. And you're also getting the extra asset on top of it. So I really like that trade. Okay. Jayan says, paging Noah G to the chat. Need your voice. Oh, okay. Let me know what's going on with Noah G. Let me know what y'all need him for. Okay, so Justin says, bro, you should not have taken Kyler. Guy behind you already had Patrick Mahomes. You are 100% correct. I'm an idiot. I was too wrapped up in the excitement that we were going through talking about stacks, and we ended up having Kyler Murray fall to us at the 5'11". You were 100% correct. Let's go through and let's look at that exact mistake that I made. Of course, we can't hide behind this mistake because it's so blatant. So going into this turn, something that I talk about a lot is when you're picking at the turn, you really can predict what the team behind you is actually going to be doing. So we should have, I completely agree with you, even though we really wanted to get the DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray stack here in the 5th round. That's a big reason why I took DeAndre Hopkins to set that up. We should have recognized the fact that this team who took Mahomes in the 4th literally could not afford to take a Kyler Murray. And I definitely prefer both TJ Hawkinson and Kareem Hunt with this structure over a Jerry Jeudy. So that is a massive mistake. And you are 100% correct in that we messed up that 5-6 turn. Hopefully that does not cost us too much in the long run. Definitely that's going to be something we're having to track with the running backs that we can get later on, because I would have loved getting a Kareem Hunt here. So you're right. What we should have done is we should have taken Kareem Hunt over Kyler Murray, and we still would have got Kyler Murray at the 602. That's 100% the right call. I'm an idiot. Please excuse me for that. Okay, so Chase Edmonds goes at the 707. We would have loved having Chase Edmonds fall to us, considering the fact that, I mean, we already have that built-in stack with the Arizona Cardinals. And Arizona didn't look the best tonight, but it is what it is. Just a preseason game. Also, we're about to pass 100 likes on the live streams. Please, if y'all have not gone down there and dropped a like on the stream, make sure you do so. Now, Damian Harris goes to the 708. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. So at the 7-11, ALS Warriors on the clock before us. He has yet to draft a running back, and he goes Michael Gallup. Okay, so this is very intriguing. Y'all know that Myles Gaskin is someone I was not drafting at all. I mean, I hated Myles Gaskin in fantasy drafts, just like Mike Davis when they were both going at the beginning of the 5th round. So now that he's falling to the 7-8 turn, do we take the 3-round difference that we're getting with the Myles Gaskin on a team where we only have one running back? Now, I don't like Gaskin. I've been off of him for a very long time, but I think this is a spot where we potentially just kind of have to draft him. Yeah, we're going to have to take a Myles Gaskin here. It is going to allow us to get a wide receiver on the way back, because I'm not going to be interested in an Aaron Rodgers when we don't have Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones on this build, and we already got Kyler Murray, so not going to be looking to make that selection. And I think we have a pretty strong team so far. We have the elite quarterback. We have Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, DeAndre Swift, Myles Gaskin. So I think we probably look to... Okay, now that Will Fuller's off the board. Will Fuller was going to be the receiver that I was drafting. Now I think we probably actually go with another running back, especially when we don't have one on their bye week. So I think we actually probably go with the Michael Carter. And now I know a lot of people would like to see Raheem Mostert here. The problem is Mostert's going to be someone I very rarely draft. I mean, he has like one game with over 20 carries in his entire career, and he's like 28 years old. That's not a recipe for success. They draft Trey Sermon. They trade up to get Trey Sermon, giving up 2 4th-round picks to go get him in the 3rd. So we are going to be getting Michael Carter, who I have to take an L on. I mean, I came out when Michael Carter was drafted. If you read our chapter on Michael Carter in the 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, you'll see that I'm not a fan of a Michael Carter. But the fact is, it looks like he has the role in New York. We can't overlook that. So then we are going to have to draft him in the 8th. Okay, so Jayan says Lost Camp has to be trolling Mason. Okay, so let's go through and let's look at Lost Camp. Where is he at? Okay, so Lost Camp here with the 108, I believe. So let me hide this for anybody who's just now coming to the stream. Let's scroll to the top to check out Lost Camp. So he goes out. He has a Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery. So at receiver, I think that this team is honestly maybe dead. I think when you take it, yeah, this team with Lost Camp, I think is so bad in a league where you have to start 3 receivers. I mean, to go and take a Damian Harris here over a Michael Gallup, Juju Smith-Schuster, Will Fuller, McCall Hardman, I think that's inexcusable, to be honest. I mean, I'm fine if you really like the Mike Davis value. I'm fine with Lamar Jackson even because you are in the dead zone of receivers. So maybe you just take the elite quarterback, maybe thinking you could possibly get Mark Andrews coming back. But I think once you take a Mike Davis here, even a Mike Davis, I think we prefer some of these receivers. Yeah, these 2 picks, when you start Barkley, Taylor, Montgomery, I just can't get behind it. I can't get behind it whatsoever. I think you probably had to go with a wide receiver, at least with the Damian Harris selection, because receivers are about to kind of fly off the board. You get a point in these drafts where it's going to be very hard to get a receiver that you like. Okay, Josh says, just got here. Who did you take at the 111 and the 202? So at the 111, we ended up getting Stephon Diggs, and we reached a little bit at the 202 to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. A big thing that I've been testing out as of late is just trying to go really wide receiver heavy at the start. Now, I think in past drafts, it would definitely made a lot more sense to go and get those running backs. But I think based on how we are seeing those elite wide receivers kind of being difference makers at the position, and these running backs, a lot of them have red flags in that range, I'm going to be trying to play around with some more wide receiver heavy starts. Now, this is a $10 draft, so I can afford to do that. If it's a $50 draft, we probably grab a Jonathan Taylor at the 202. But yeah, we wanted to test some stuff out. Now, Julius says, with the donation, thank you, my man, says, first ever best ball draft today, 3-man, $3 league, had the 3rd pick and got Dalvin, Henry, Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson, Kyler Murray. My man, Julian, thank you, of course, for joining Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, getting everything that there is to offer. And thank you for the donation. And I will say, guys, on Underdog Fantasy, they do offer content. They offer anything you could think of fantasy football draft-wise. I mean, they have 3-man drafts, 6-man drafts, 10-man drafts, 12-man drafts, anything you could think of. I have never hopped in a 3-man draft. I am not planning on it anytime soon, but I will say some simple strategy for anybody deciding to participate in a 3-man draft. There's probably there are probably 2 players more valuable than Travis Kelce. I would even make the argument that Christian McCaffrey may be the only valuable player besides Travis Kelce, because at the position, Travis Kelce gives you an edge that you can really not replace with any other guy. And then at the same time, we know with how deep receiver is, you're going to be getting like the worst receiver on your team is going to be a Chris Godwin. Who freaking cares? You know what I mean? You could just go through and get so much wide receiver depth that if you're going to participate in like the 3-man drafts on Underdog, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. How I recommend to play on Underdog is by going through and, I mean, this is like literally the dream. If you want to become a better fantasy football drafter, go make a $10 deposit, get the $25 bonus when you use promo code FLOCK, and then go through and load up a lot of $3 drafts that are 12-man leagues. That way you get a really good feel of how the draft is going to flow for your real 12-man league this upcoming year. If you're playing in a 10-man league, then do a 10-man league. But just get some real practice in. I doubt that many people are actually going to be playing in leagues where you only have 2 other guys playing with you. And if you are, you need to fix your fantasy football league. I'll say that. So I hate to talk down on it, but I can't understand going through and drafting in a 3-man league on Underdog, to be honest. Okay, so Tyler Higbee goes to the 908. So ALS Warrior, he takes Melvin Gordon as his second running back. This is a team that at receiver has Hill, Metcalf, Cooper, Lockett, Gallup, tight end Mark Andrews, quarterback Russell Wilson is stacked with DK Metcalf. I mean, this is another mistake that I kind of have to own up that we were making earlier this offseason. So earlier, we were actually drafting a Dallas Goedert way too early, where we were consistently taking Goedert at the 8-9 turn. Now I think it's kind of fair for him to be falling. But what we're actually going to do is, let me explain myself after we make this pick. We're going to take a Michael Pittman. A big reason is the wide receiver pool is drying up. Now we have positive news on Carson Wentz, possibly looking like he's coming back in week 1. And to go along with this, the team after us has taken TJ Hawkinson. So really at this point, when we were overdrafting Dallas Goedert with the assumption that Zach Ertz was gone, I think we kind of have to just take our lesson. We have to go, we were too high. We have too much exposure to a Dallas Goedert. If Brady wants to take Goddard, we're fine. We're taking Noah Fant. They're in the same tier for us at this point. So let's see. But yeah, that's what I was saying. I think receiver is actually going to dry up a lot sooner than those other positions. So I wanted to get another receiver here. You can just kind of see best available and how there are really no receivers at the top, but you have all these quarterbacks. You have a lot of tight ends. We have a Kyler Murray, not too interested in grabbing another QB here. Okay, so he goes Rondale Moore. And let's see, maybe he goes running back. I mean, he only has Austin Eckler and Kareem Hunt. So he goes James Conner. Yeah, he goes with the running back. I think we are going to get our first tight end. We are going to get Dallas Goedert. Like I said, I had to own up to the fact that I was drafting him way too early. I was drafting him at the 8-9 turn. That's an entire round before where we are getting him now. So I have to own up to the fact that we were wrong. I'm not going to be nearly as aggressive on Dallas Goedert, where I thought he was a fantastic target because I was operating under the assumption that Zach Ertz was not going to be in Philadelphia. That was too bold for me to go out there and just assume that automatically. So I think when we can get the value here of a Dallas Goedert in the 10th, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be drafting Dallas Goedert in the 10th. Okay, so let's go through and if y'all have not dropped a like in the live stream, make sure you drop a like. And I'm trying to read the chat right now, my dudes, but I'm sorry. It's too much. I'm going to have to switch it over to subscriber only. Hopefully that helps it out some. I have no idea. We were just in the gaming category. Why were we in the gaming category? I had to switch that over real quick. That is, I need to look at Streamlabs for having us in there. Okay, so we switched it over to subscriber only. So hopefully I can go through and hopefully I can read the chat a little better now. So after we take Dallas Goedert, I mean, I think this roster is very balanced when we get a Myles Gaskin and a Michael Carter in the 7th, 8th round. Now, let me know what y'all think about that draft pick of Myles Gaskin. I mean, I really do hate it. I really do. But at some point, we just kind of have to take the falling knife. I mean, this was just a player that I hated before the first preseason game. So, of course, when you see Malcolm Brown out there getting touches, which is the exact reason why we were concerned, because Myles Gaskin isn't this elite talent that has to get every single touch. Okay, so Highlight says, what do you think of my CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott stack, my man? Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And let's go through and let's check out the stack. So Highlight was drafting at the 102, so he gets Lamb at the 211. I'll say, I think that this is honestly a little rich for a CeeDee Lamb. I think we probably prefer getting a Darren Waller in this format, knowing you would only have to get one more tight end on this roster. So I probably prefer Darren Waller, but once you commit to a CeeDee Lamb here at the 211, obviously this is fantastic value with the Dak Prescott at the end of the 6th. Dak has been someone falling as of late. I wonder if it's due to the injury. I mean, are y'all concerned whatsoever with the injury that Dak Prescott's currently going through? Because falling to the 6'11", you never saw that in drafts a while ago. You never saw it. Party Till She Saw It says, Mecole Hardman had a good game, Mason. Guys, I literally, before the game, went through and recorded like an in-depth video where I ranted on Mecole Hardman for 10 minutes, giving some in-depth analysis, what I perceive to be in-depth analysis, very similar to what we did with Travis Etienne in the video that came out today, where y'all know that I said last week that Mecole Hardman was a fantastic buy low candidate when a lot of other people were saying most overrated wide receiver in fantasy. If you look at ESPN leagues, now I know Underdog leagues are way better than this in terms of the ADP being way more efficient, but if you look at ESPN leagues, that's where like the regular bum, I don't want to say bum, but like the 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, that's where they're mock drafting. I mean, you have Mecole Hardman going behind like Corey Davis, Jalen Reagor, T.Y. Hilton. That is ridiculous. I mean, it's hilarious to hear that someone going behind Jalen Reagor, people are screaming that he's going to bust in fantasy. How is that even possible to bust? So I actually went through and I recorded an in-depth breakdown of why I think Mecole Hardman is a fine pick in fantasy drafts this year and why he's one of my highest owned receivers. So that comes out, I believe, Sunday. I'm going to try to figure out if I want to get it out tomorrow morning or Sunday. I told Thomas that we didn't need to get it until Sunday. Okay, Jeremy says, I am more worried about Dak's ankle than his shoulder. I really have no idea what to say in that, my man. I just simply do not know. I'm not smart enough to know. Okay, so here, Brian Edwards, Marquez Callaway go. So that's kind of the thought process and why we wanted to grab a Michael Pittman, because the tight ends that we are going to be looking at in this range, like we can potentially get an Irv Smith or a Mike Gesicki. So yeah, we're possibly going to be looking at one of those guys. Okay, so Jacoby Myers at the 1108. Okay, this is an exciting turn that we're going to have. This is an exciting turn. I mean, we have a couple different options. So the thing is, I don't want to talk too early because Senior Skittles can really go anywhere with these picks. I mean, he has a very balanced roster so far. Brady, Jones, Gibson. So he goes Emmanuel Sanders. With the injury, I can't consider Rashad Bateman. So I'm thinking if we get Irv Smith, if we pair together Irv Smith and Dallas Goedert with 2 separate bye weeks, are we going to have to draft another tight end? I think we probably don't have to draft another tight end. So let's get Irv Smith. Yeah, so that's going to finish up our tight end position. Now we only have to look at QB, running back, receiver. Now, our receiver room is obviously extremely strong when we have Diggs, Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman. We have Kyler Murray as an elite quarterback. I think really what we're trying to do with this next pick probably is we're probably trying to go and get in another running back. Now, when we have a DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams is not going to be too intriguing for me, just given the fact that we're already betting that DeAndre Swift's going to be healthy the entire year. This goes back to what we were saying, and that I don't necessarily like handcuffing our running backs. So now it comes down to a Latavius Murray or a Devin Singletary, and I'll be the first one to say that Latavius Murray has a significantly higher ceiling than a Devin Singletary. But in this league in particular, I think we are so behind at the running back position that we're more so looking for someone to come in and get touches every single week. So I'm honestly going to be willing to reach on a Devin Singletary. I know that is definitely a reach, and I know that Latavius Murray does have more upside if we were to see an injury to Alvin Kamara. But I think, honestly, with the certain build that we have, Singletary is going to be a fine player. I was the number one hater of Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, both of them last year, based on Josh Allen never checking down to his running backs and also getting all the usage at the goal line, vulturing those touchdowns away. But now that we know that Buffalo is going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL and they're falling this far, I think that, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Last year I was underweight on both Zach Moss, Devin Singletary. I don't know if I had him in a single league. And this year I have a ton of Zach Moss, and I'm completely fine drafting Devin Singletary in the 12th round. Highlight says, Mason, I should have taken Derrick Henry at the 102. I am so dumb. Shake my head. I'm an idiot. That's the one bright move. One bright move, my man. Pac-Man says, Washington's backup was 5 years old when Fitz Magic was drafted. Fitz could have made him a sippy cup. That is wild. That is wild. Okay, so let's switch this over. After we go with the Devin Singletary, we do have Latavius Murray going at the 1206. Let me know what y'all think of that selection. I think just given our construction, we needed a running back there. We also needed a running back that was going to be getting usage every single week. And I know Latavius Murray technically does, but at the same time, I just think Singletary is going to be a better option there. Okay, and also let me know what you think of the new studio, because y'all know we had the tree behind us. I said that we had more signs on the way. I think that the Underdog sign looks significantly better than the tree did. Let me know what y'all are thinking. I can still put the tree in the corner, maybe try to like trim it up real quick. That way it doesn't necessarily cover either sign, but let me know if y'all think the new studio looks fine. Let me know your opinion on it. Okay, so we have more receivers going off here. Everybody is spamming the chat DK. So I'm assuming someone asked a trade. Let's go through and let's look at the trade. Fantasy Flock is the best. Asked, should I accept this trade? I give Alvin Kamara for Terry McLaurin, Saquon Barkley, and Najee Harris. Yes. Yes. Give away Alvin Kamara for Terry McLaurin, Saquon Barkley, and Najee Harris. Do that. I'm not even a massive fan compared to consensus of either Najee Harris or Terry McLaurin, and I'm doing that trade every single time. And Jared says, in a draft right now, do I take a DK Metcalf or Allen Robinson? You 100% have to take DK Metcalf. 100% have to take DK Metcalf. Okay, so Liam says, I like the tree. Steven says, ditch the tree. Liam says, tree in the corner between the signs. Okay, so it sounds like we got a 50-50 split going right now. Let me know what you are thinking. Hines goes at the 1302. I really do like the pick of Hines at the 1302. DJ says, just deposited to Underdog using code FLOCK. Love watching the daily content. Respect to the grind. My man, thank you so much. Literally, there's nothing that y'all can do that helps out this live stream more than making that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. I mean, if y'all enjoy these live streams daily, I promise you the number one way to guarantee that these keep happening, especially if y'all want me to be streaming every single day next football season, trust me, I would love to. But this partnership needs to go very well. So make sure y'all are using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You get $25 added to your account. You get my draft guide, which we could be selling this draft guide for $80. I mean, that's realistically. We have both a 2021 fantasy football draft guide, hundreds of pages, a 2021 Dynasty rookie draft guide, over 100 pages. I think that we could easily sell that package for $85. Instead, all I'm saying is use our promo code on Underdog Fantasy. They decided to sponsor the draft guide. So anybody who makes that $10 deposit gets $25 added to their account, gets all those draft guides, our 2021 rankings that are going to be updated all the way to the season with our tiers as well. So please make sure y'all are taking advantage. I wish I had an alert on the stream every time someone used the code. I've said this so many times before, but it would be really nice. Party Till She Saw It coming out says, I love the new studio setup. The flock team is deep. My man, thank you. Thank you, my man. Okay, so Aaron says, what's up, brother? Just signed up on Patreon, hoping to get into a $10 draft soon with the stream. Thank you, my man, for joining the flock and pay. I just have so many thank yous to give out, to be honest. Patreon has been absurd as of late. Like, y'all wouldn't believe how crazy Patreon has been. I think we are close. Like, we're going to probably hit 1,000 people on Patreon by the end of the month. Like, we're going to have and what's crazy about that as well is last football season, I was trying to come up with like different goals that we could do if we hit 1,000 people on Patreon. And one of the goals that I suggested, because I'm going to be honest, I thought the chances of us hitting 1,000 people on Patreon were literally 0%. I thought that it would never come close to happening. It will probably happen this month. But I told my family, I was like, I may tell them I'll get a tattoo of the Fantasy Flock logo if we get 1,000 people on Patreon. Like, I said that out loud. And of course I didn't go out there and put it on Patreon. Thank God I didn't. I was talking to them about this last week. I was like, how bad would it have been if I made that goal of hitting 1,000 people on Patreon, never thinking it was going to happen, never thinking it was going to come close. And then all of a sudden we had to get a tattoo. That would have been brutal. So I'm glad we didn't do that. But anyway, we have Philip Lindsay going. So now the reason I take Kirk Cousins here is we are only going to want to have to draft 2 quarterbacks with this team. So I think when we have 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, we can construct this roster around 6 running backs, as well as having, if my math is correct, we're not going to go through that right now. Now, I think that between receiver and running back, it's going to be close. Personally, I'm just going to go out there and get a Sterling Shepard, someone that should be running a ton of routes. And I am so dumb. We should have got AJ Green. We had Kyler Murray. We have Kyler Murray. We should have got AJ Green. Not the end of the world there. Sterling Shepard is someone that I think is going to get a sneaky amount of targets and a sneaky amount of receptions this upcoming season. So yeah, we're going to get Sterling Shepard at the 1402. Okay, so Damian Williams at the 1404. But guys, let me know if y'all have an idea of goals that we can put on Patreon. Let me know, because like I said, I'm kind of running out of ideas for goals that we can hit on Patreon, because we just went through and smashed all of them in a span of like a month, which I never thought was going to happen. So let me know what y'all think with our goals on Patreon. Like, if say it in the chat right now, because I've been asking everybody I talk to. I need ideas for goals for us hitting certain monumental steps, because it sucks as of now. But my goal on Patreon when we hit 1,000 people is, I don't know what to put. Thank you. I've never thought we would get here. That's what I have right now. So if you come up with a better goal, I don't know if we can use it at 1,000, because I think we already set that blank goal, but we can put it at like 1,100 or something. Okay. Peyton says he forgot to drop a like on the stream. My man, that is disappointing. Disappointing, my man. Now, JD McKissick goes to the 1407. Let me know if y'all think I should have gone with a running back here instead. Shauna says, should I get a flock tattoo? Probably not. If we're going to be realistic here, probably not. Probably not the best idea. Okay, so Tyrell Williams, KJ Hamler, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, AJ Green. So Derek Carr at the 1410. Larry says, okay, Julia says, she says, if we hit 2,000 people on Patreon, 2022 draft guides. People on Patreon already get the draft guides. I mean, if you're a mother flocker on Patreon, you already get the draft guide. So it's not like people signing up for Patreon like, oh, that's an extra giveaway, because they're already getting it. Caden says, I need to sign up for code FLOCK on Underdog under my mom's name so I can get another free $25. I do not think you can do that, my man. I think that they have to verify your identity. I would be very surprised if you can do that. I would not recommend trying. Okay. Willie says, just make awesome upgrades to celebrate. One thing I thought about upgrading with the studio is I'm thinking about maybe upgrading like the lens on the camera where it's like more of a blurry background. I don't know. I've been trying to come up with ideas to upgrade. I feel like our studio is literally so legit right now. Caden says, flock face and neck tat. I don't know about that one, my man. And I'll say we also have some very fun goals that Underdog Fantasy agreed that if we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, they're going to go through and they're going to fly multiple people out to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. And we're going to vlog the entire thing. We're going to do a Florida flock meetup after, and I'm going to do a 24-hour live stream drafting teams. I probably have never stayed up 24 hours in my entire life, so that would be crazy. So hopefully we hit that goal, but I'm trying to come up with some more goals for Patreon as well. Okay, so if Cole Kmet makes it to us at the 15-11, it's going to make the selection where we took Irv Smith. It's going to make that look horrible. It's going to make us look really, really dumb with that pick. Okay, so Josh Palmer goes to the 15-07. I do not understand that Palmer pick, but I guess wide receiver is drying up. It's nice that we have enough receivers where we don't necessarily have to worry about that too much. We probably are going to bring 2 more receivers into this roster, though, because right now I think the ideal build for us is going to be 6 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends. Okay, so now let's go through Xavier Jones, Rashad Penny. So if we're looking at the next pick, I mean, we have to take James White here. We need 2 more running backs in this draft. If you look at the tier break that we're going to have after James White, we have to take him. And Safi coming out, subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for going down there, hitting that subscribe button, joining the flock. Okay, so Byron Pringle at the 15-12. Shauna says, once you hit 1,000, you should do a live meetup and draft with a subscriber. It would be really cool. I think that's actually a good idea. What I may do is if we hit like 1,500 people on Patreon, host an annual Patreon, like host an annual flock draft where we can do like some fun competition or something to get like, figure out who's going to be the 11 people in the draft. And we can like, that will be really good. I'll set up a flock league. That will be the goal. I really like that idea. Thank you. So now we're only looking running back and receiver from here. So running back, I mean, all these guys are about the same. Do we really want to quote unquote reach on a Chuba Hubbard here? I think that we just take Christian Kirk when we have the combination of a Kyler Murray and a DeAndre Hopkins. I was not really watching the Arizona game tonight. I was watching more of the other game. So maybe something happened with Christian Kirk, which is why he's falling here to the 1602. So let me know if that pick is just horrendous. Liam says, Ramondre Stevenson looking better and better, homie. Good late running back for you. Yes, and those people who made fun of me for saying that. They're not giving me an apology anytime soon, but I deserve one. I deserve one. Yeah, I think the goal is if we hit, so like I said, if we hit 10,000 flock signups on Underdog Fantasy, which should be really easy. I mean, we literally get 60,000 views every 48 hours. Now, a lot of those are double up views. A lot of those are the same person watching multiple videos. So keep that in mind. But if we're getting 60,000 views every 48 hours, for us to hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, I think that should be a walk in the park. I don't think that should be that hard. And then we'll go through, we'll fly multiple people to Florida, because I know we're going to do a Florida flock meetup, but I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to go to the meetup if they're living in like Washington or whatever, if they're living in California. So if you're living in California, you want to take it to Tampa, Florida, you want to take it to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, of course, use promo code FLOCK, because we're going to be doing the giveaway through the people who signed up on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Okay, Steven says, you should set a goal to wrestle an alligator. My little brother literally sent me a picture of at their house. He said they were fishing in the backyard today, and an alligator swam up to him, and he sent me a picture of an alligator. I'm not joking. That was like 2 hours ago. So that's pretty funny that you say that. Caden says, what's the price in the next draft? We'll get another draft going after this, guys. If you're new to the live stream, we get a ton of drafts going every single night. And the next one we'll do either, let's call it a $5 or a $50 draft. We'll do something like that. But I'll ask y'all what y'all want. We'll figure it out in the live chat. Okay, so we have a lot of tight ends going off here. It does suck to see like Cole Kmet falls to where we could have. Let's go back and let's try to review this pick that we made with an Irv Smith. And I think this selection is very bad. And that if we would have doubled up on running back, if we would have potentially gone with the Jamal Williams and a Devin Singletary, instead of going with the James White here, we could have got a Cole Kmet. I think we probably prefer the combination of Jamal Williams and Cole Kmet versus versus Irv Smith and James White. So I think that is definitely a mistake. JN comes out with a donation, says, how's she looking, Mason? Let's go through. Let's pull up JN's team from the 101. Takes Colin Johnson here at the 1701. So here at the 101, he goes CMC. Love the Waller at the 212. Very rarely are you having the opportunity to draft a Darren Waller at that 2-3 turn. Then Keenan Allen, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen. See, this is a big thing. I think that this is the range of the running backs. I mean, these running backs, when they were going in the third round, they were overvalued. But now that all these receivers have got bumped up over them, I really like getting the Miles Sanders, the Travis Etienne, the Josh Jacobs. Javonte Williams, a little rich for me here. I probably prefer Javonte Williams after Josh Jacobs, to be honest. So I do like getting Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, the last receiver possibly in that tier. Mike Williams, getting the stack with Mike Williams and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, out of value there. Corey Davis. Ooh, is that Corey Davis pick really the best wide receiver available? I'm unsure what I think about the Corey Davis selection. Now, with Corey Davis, I've drafted him in very few leagues this season so far. Maybe that's an oversight by me. I do agree that you probably should have gone with the receiver there after having CMC and Miles Sanders already at running back. Marvin Jones, Terrace Marshall. Love the Kenyon Drake selection. Evan Ingram at the 12-12. That's fantastic value. Then Tua Tagovailoa. Malcolm Brown. I'll say Malcolm Brown looks a little rich. Jamison Crowder, I don't understand. Okay, so you get 3 quarterbacks, Herbert, Tua. I think this Tua pick's pretty bad. I think if you go Herbert, Wilson, and you have a Jamison Crowder and a Corey Davis, so you're already kind of committed to that Jets offense, I think I'd probably stick with 2 quarterbacks in that build. Something I've thought about, I mean, I didn't really pay too much attention to this because honestly, I know this sounds bad, but when the NFL's been putting out their COVID stuff, I literally have just looked the other direction. I haven't cared whatsoever. I haven't looked at their protocols. I don't really care. And I heard a lot of stuff happening in the preseason games where they were talking about it. And I was going, is this something we should be taking into consideration with our roster construction? Should we be trying to build less hyper-fragile teams knowing that we're possibly going to have people missing games still due to COVID? I mean, I didn't even think, I wasn't even thinking that was going to be a thing. I don't know why that completely, I was able to push that out completely out of my stratosphere. But if that's something we have to deal with again this season, we may have to think a little harder about some of this construction, some of these teams that we're building. Okay, so with this next pick, Jerick McKinnon becomes a lot less appealing when we see Darwin Thompson getting the usage that he actually had with Patrick Mahomes in the game. So I think at running back, we're probably about to see a pretty big fall off. So let's just get Tevin Coleman. Now we're going to be monopolizing the backfield in New York, which I don't necessarily like, but we did so at a dirt cheap price. So yeah, let's get Tevin Coleman. And then our last pick is going to be a receiver. So at the receiver position, if this was going to be one of the Underdog best ball tournaments, then we probably go through, we scroll down a little bit, try to find some guy that's not going to be owned in many leagues. But since this is only a 12-man league, we're just going to go through. We're just going to grab a guy we're kind of fine with. A guy that I've been drafting a lot is actually Kadarius Toney down here, but we kind of need to mix up our exposures just a little. So let's just take DeMarcus Robinson. Y'all know, I don't know how many times I've had to say this before, but despite whatever wide receiver is in there on a 2 wide receiver set, when in a 2 wide receiver set, they're running the ball. Who cares? DeMarcus Robinson is not the wide receiver 2 in Kansas City. I'm on record saying the wide receiver 2 in Kansas City is McCole Hardman. But yeah, they're going to Marcus Robinson. I think it's a fine last round pick. Mike says, rate Deezenators next. Okay, let's go through. Let's look at Deezenators. And guys, if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, make sure you go down there and drop that like. Let's check out Deezenators teams real quick. He goes running back heavy, the exact opposite of what we did. He goes 4 running backs to start. Now I'll say this Josh Allen pick, I think is almost reckless when you start so heavy at the running back position. I think you really actually need to go out there and find yourself a receiver coming in. So I don't necessarily like this whatsoever. LaVisca, Debo, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown, Devontae Parker. I agree with just you slamming best receiver available here. I think you kind of have to be honest. And then you get Joe Burrow. So I'm assuming you only go 2 quarterbacks. If you get Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, you can't draft another quarterback here. Gabriel Davis, Gronk, MVS, Jared Cook, Anthony Firkser. I agree with going 3 tight ends, and I agree with how many roster spots you spent on the receiver position. So I agree on the roster construction overall. I think that Josh Allen is my biggest issue. Steven coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says $10 underdog, two double stacks. Adams, Rodgers, Dillon, Chenault, Jones, Lawrence. Was this a wise decision? I will say that a lot of people that are significantly smarter than I am, that have been putting a ton of work and study into underdog construction, have said that especially in those tournament formats, that those double stacks are going to be a really good idea. So of course, a lot of it comes down to the price that you got the double stack at. But if you got them at a good price, I mean, I think we're completely fine with it. And now let's get another draft set up. Let me go down there. Let me ask y'all in a poll real quick if y'all are just preferring us to do a $5 or a $50 draft. And yes, I will also say that we have a rule in the chat, literally no politics whatsoever. So if I saw that someone said this chat's going to turn into political nonsense. If it turns into politics, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say whatsoever. It doesn't matter if you come out. I'm not even going to give examples, but you're going to get muted and you're probably not going to be able to type for 5 minutes or so. Okay. Yeah, I guess like I've said this so many times before. My opinion, if it comes to politics, I don't even really have opinion. Doesn't matter at all. I'm a 22-year-old kid that spends 18 hours a day just thinking fantasy football. What the hell do I know? What the hell can I even think? And also, you're never going to convince someone's mind of whatever your political views are in a YouTube live chat. So you going through and saying them literally doesn't do anything whatsoever. You are just making everybody in a worse mood. So it's not going to really be tolerated. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Your views and don't matter here. I'll tell you that right now. If you have a view on Rondale Moore, if you have a view on Elijah Moore, if you have a view on Najee Harris, I'd love to hear it, but that's all. Okay, so let's pull this up. Let's send this out. Okay, so it's either going to be a $5 or a $50 draft, whatever y'all are wanting, whatever y'all are wanting. And just vote on the poll. Don't feel the need to spam it over and over again. Okay, so let me set up a new one really quick. Okay, so it looks like $5 is good. Actually, we have the option for a 10. Okay, so I've completely forgot that they set up the $10 leagues for us now. So we're not going to do $5 drafts anymore. Maybe occasionally we get a $5 draft in, but since $5 won, I'm actually going to do a $10 draft. I completely forgot that was even an option for us. So we're going to get a $10 draft set up. I'll definitely get us at least one $50 draft to go later on tonight. But for the time being, we're going to get a $10 draft going. Caden says, screw politics. Fantasy is more important. That's 100% correct, my man. 100% correct. Okay, so let me end that. Let me type out. It's going to be $10 draft here. I am sending out a link to join the draft. This is going to be a private league. So do not join the $10 draft in the lobby, okay? This is going to be a private league. Okay, so that is sent out. And I'm assuming that this is going to fill right away, guys. If y'all are new to a live stream, I mean, these drafts, they feel like you saw it like that. So with Underdog Fantasy, a big thing is, well, first they're going to give us the 101. Give us the 101. Okay, 108, whatever. I mean, we got so many early draft picks in last stream's draft. I can't even really complain too much. But a big thing about Underdog Fantasy is since you are getting our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 rankings, our tiers, and most importantly, you're getting $25 added to your account when you use promo code FLOCK and deposit $10. They have to verify that you're a real person. Now, for me, this took about 3 or 4 minutes. A lot of other people in the chat said it took them no time at all and it was automatic, but it's more so varying on the state that you live in with how complicated it is to get your identity verified. Really, all you have to do is put like your name, your address, and they go through and I guess their little AI robot searches and goes, is this a real person? Have they signed up for Underdog Fantasy before? Because you can't just keep on signing up and get free $25 every single time, or obviously Underdog would go bankrupt. So they are going to have to verify your identity. So make sure you get that process out of the way before you try to join our private drafts, because I just showed you how fast they fill. They fill ridiculously fast, where even if you go and you click it 0.001 seconds too late, then you're not getting in. So you can't be setting up an account once we send that private link out. Okay, so Fallon on the clock, someone who's a regular out to this draft. A regular. He's always in these rooms. Okay, so let's switch this around as well. He goes CMC. No surprise here. Let's check out who all got in. Okay, Party Till She's Hot. He's a regular, and I hate drafting next to him. Clutch Cow's a regular. Lithium, has been out in drafts before. Corey's been out in drafts before. K. Warren. Pig 76. I think this is new. San Diego's finest has been in drafts before. Just wing it or something like that. Definitely a new name. I Ate Dreams, new name. Keep in mind, if I'm saying these names and they're so wrong, my computer screen's so far away and the names are small. I'm just trying to figure out what these characters are. Devontae Adams to the 104. Yeah, so we have not as many new people in here, but that's expected when we get closer to the year. I mean, the people who really like the stream, they're coming out, they're trying to get in these drafts. Okay, so Devontae Adams goes at the 104. Kelsey at the 105. John says, Mason, $1,000 league. You in? Question mark. I got to know the details on that one, my friend. Got to know the details on that. Are you talking about $1,000 underdog league? I will say that $1,000 underdog league, we tried to get a $500 league going on Underdog the other day, and not enough people were willing to come out and put it up. Not a lot of people wanted to show us what they had. So we weren't able to get it going. Now do we take a Tyreek at the 108 or do we go Aaron Jones? We're going to go with the Tyreek Hill. I really like just building around the receiver position early. I mean, I've been doing it almost every single draft now. If we don't have access to a Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, I find a lot of the receiver builds that I have in a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers, I love the teams that I'm able to construct. Okay, so Aaron Jones at the 110. Calvin Ridley at the 111. So Ridley over Stephon Diggs. Very intriguing. I can't get behind it. I think you still have to take Stephon Diggs over Calvin Ridley. Stephon Diggs does go at the 201. Now let's switch this back. So last draft, we actually started back-to-back receiver. Here it's mainly going to depend on if one player in particular we're looking at makes it back to us. So Antonio Gibson goes to the 202. So there's still one player that I like to potentially make it back. But I think this is probably going to be a back-to-back wide receiver start. At least I'm imagining. Julia says, how do you make a private league on Underdog? Because I'll make a $5 one right now. You go through and I don't necessarily... Let me not dive into that because I would have to go through and I'd have to walk you through it. I can send it out in the Discord if you need help. Okay, so with the Jonathan Taylor going off the board, I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at us to take Nick Chubb. I can't. We're going to go DK Metcalf. I just am not a fan of Nick Chubb whatsoever. I'm viewing Nick Chubb as a running back that, while yes, he is one of the best running backs in the NFL, at the end of the day, he is in that committee. He is in that committee with Kareem Hunt. So as crazy as it sounds, I can't be taking Nick Chubb over a wide receiver that we think can break fantasy football. So Nick Chubb falls all the way to the 207. I'll say that's the perfect range for Nick Chubb. Now, Nick Chubb used to go in the first round, which I thought was horrendous. But if you wanted to take a Nick Chubb as early as the 205, I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to go Nick Chubb over DK Metcalf, I think that's completely fine. Now, whenever I was screaming that Nick Chubb was being overrated, that's when he was going in the first round of fantasy drafts. But if he's falling here to the middle of the second, I think that's a completely fine pick. I mean, maybe sometimes we go a little off the wall and we mix it up and going with a Nick Chubb at the 205. But I wanted to get Metcalf in here. Big thing is I kind of want to get some more Russell Wilson in my life. So I think if we want that, we probably should start drafting Metcalf. Okay, so Nicholas says, interesting idea by you grabbing Adams with the 3rd overall, Cooks, and 5 wide receivers in our puppy draft yesterday. Okay, so Nicholas, see, this is what I was talking about, guys. I am out there drafting during the middle of the day. Nicholas, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you're saying that you saw me in a public league just drafting and you saw me go Devontae Adams at the 103 and then go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. That's exactly what I was saying at the beginning of the stream. I'm out here, like literally, even if I'm not live streaming, you could probably get in a draft with me on Underdog Fantasy by just going through and joining a public league because I am so confident with what we are doing, especially on Underdog Fantasy, where I can join a puppy and I can just be drafting as I work. And it makes me a better drafter. And at the same time, we have a shot that we can take at a $200,000 prize pool on top. We're going to go with the Robert Woods here. So yeah, we're going to start this 3 wide receivers. This is what I kind of want this practice in these 10-man leagues. I want to start trying to go wide receiver heavy and prepare for the large field tournaments that we are in. Sir Dilly says, excited to draft tomorrow at 12. It'll be fun. Yes, sir. We got a 2021 Patreon. Guys, on Patreon, we do Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues. Y'all know how much I love Dynasty Fantasy Football. And we have a draft that is kicking off tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern. Nicholas says, yes, sir. We were in a puppy draft the other day, buddy. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. I'm out there. Even if I'm not live streaming, I'm still in these fantasy football drafts. I'm sure y'all will see me a lot putting my real money on the line because I'm confident with us. I'm confident in our ability to construct a roster, especially in those tournaments, because I have so much just in my mind with the strategy to differentiate our team. Okay, so Cooper Kupp at the 311. And Nicholas, I'll say, if you're in more of those drafts, you'll see me going with a Davante Adams at the 103 very often. That's a regular build that I have. Davante Adams at the 103. Once you have CMC, Dalvin Cook off the board. I mean, I actually, in a puppy draft the other day, I'm not going to lie, I talked about this in the live stream last night. So on these drafts, obviously you can queue a player, and I'm doing a lot of these drafts not during the live stream, but as I work, so I can't give them 100% of my attention. All right, probably should, but it is what it is. And then I was at the 103. As soon as I loaded up until the 103, I just clicked over to the other tab. I mean, on my other monitor, I queued up Davante Adams, just assuming that we were going to have Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook go 101, 102. And then all of a sudden, the team at the 102 took Ezekiel Elliott. And then by the time I looked back over the draft board, we had Davante Adams when we could have had Dalvin Cook. Now, that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. But beyond that, you're going to see me go regularly with a Davante Adams there. And here, once we start 3 wide receivers in a row, I think possibly we do need to just take a Chris Carson. Just kidding. Just kidding. Didn't see that we have Tyreek Hill. We're going to go with Patrick Mahomes. We're going to bring in that elite quarterback. Now, the last draft that we did yesterday when we took a Mahomes, I really did not like the construction. But let's go. Let's push the boundaries in creating this team. Now we're only going to have to draft 2 QBs. We do have that stack with a Tyreek Hill and a Mahomes here. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming they hate this team. I think possibly if we would have known that we were getting a Patrick Mahomes at the 405 and we weren't going to go with the Chris Carson, in that scenario, I think we could have gone back and we could have changed this DK Metcalf selection to possibly Nick Chubb. But it's hindsight. You never know that you're going to get Patrick Mahomes at the 405 on the team where you drafted Tyreek Hill. So it is what it is. We'll see how the draft shakes out from here. Okay, so Jamar Chase at the 408, Julio Jones at the 407. So it is intriguing that we have we have 2 completely different builds. So KW Warren here goes extremely running back heavy, 4 running backs to start off. And there are a lot of other teams that kind of flip the script where we have multiple teams that went very wide receiver heavy. And here's San Diego's finest, 3 receivers through the first 4 rounds. We have 3 receivers through the first 4 rounds. Here, Corey, 3 receivers through the first 4 rounds. Lithium, 3 receivers through the first 4 rounds. So it's going to be interesting to monitor what the overall market is for the receiver versus running back position later on this draft, because there are a couple interesting dynamics that are getting pulled up here. DJ says, how many positions play weekly in best ball? 1 of each. No, there are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a flex, and a tight end every single week. Okay. So Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, let's throw this back over. So I'll say a big thing is if you're doing public underdog drafts, I mean, this is why I'm trying to start a little wide receiver heavy at the beginning, because a lot of times you can get Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs in the late 5th, early 6th. Like, it's ridiculous the range that you're seeing these running backs fall to. I think that honestly, this is where I would draft them personally. Once you have this tier receiver go off the board, I think these running backs probably become the best players available. Miles Sanders at the 504, just like that. I'm honestly surprised that you have both Travis Etienne and Josh Jacobs going before Miles Sanders. That is definitely surprising for me. Okay, so now let's put this back over. So now when we're on the clock, Kyle Pitts goes off, thank God. And at the same time, we really can't consider drafting a quarterback here. We're really only running back, receiver, tight end. And if we look at the teams behind us, so K. Warren here really can't go with another running back in that they already have 4. Really, the only teams we have to worry about going running back are going to be Corey and Lithium. I'm just trying to think. Do we soak up another receiver with how many teams went wide receiver heavy? I think we're going to take another receiver here. We will be willing to roster 6 running backs on this team. But we're going to go with another receiver in that I think if you look at the draft room, receivers are going to go off a little earlier than you expect. Like I already said, we pointed out how many teams went receiver early at the beginning. So I'm afraid that we are going to see a receiver run. So let's take one here. K. Warren. It's going to be interesting to see this team, how it ends up. Yeah, so they go with the Kenny Golladay at the 509. And I know, guys, I'll be the first one to say Odell Beckham Jr. looks horrendous at the 508. And I am not excited about that Odell Beckham Jr. pick whatsoever. It's the dead range of receiver. Once you get past an Adam Thielen, it gets really gross. Really, I mean, you have Adam Thielen the majority of the time going up here. And that's why a lot of times I find myself drafting these receivers. But in this format, I'm going to be interested in trying to push the envelope. Let's go through and let's try this out because, I mean, I've had a lot of success, I think, in those puppy drafts and in those Best Ball Mania drafts. And guys, if y'all have not gone down there and dropped a like on the live stream yet, drop a like. Let's get this live stream over 300 likes. I mean, that should be very easy. We have 400 people in here. Let's try to get as many likes as we can on the live stream. That way we go through, get as many drafts in as possible. Okay. So Josh Allen, we need to see these elite quarterbacks go off the board. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of crazy to see. I mean, it's insane to see Corey passing on a Kyler Murray here when he has DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I'm very surprised to see that Javonte Williams selection over a Kyler Murray. I figured Kyler Murray would be a no-brainer there at the 5'10". So Deebo Samuel goes to the 602. So Kareem Hunt at the 603. I think that's a massive mistake in passing on a Kyler Murray, to be honest. So now that we're on the clock, the problem is, if we were going receiver, we would be taking a Laviska Shenault. How bad would it be to take another QB? No, it would just, we literally can't. I can't. The problem is we can't. I hate my life. That's all I have to say. I'm not proud of what we just did. It's disgusting. I blame it on Corey here in deciding to get his third running back instead of getting a Kyler Murray to stack with the DeAndre Hopkins in the 6th round. Kyler Murray goes here at the 607. I hate my life for having to take Mike Davis. Y'all know I am definitely taking both Javonte Williams and Kareem Hunt over Mike Davis, as we have been the entire offseason. Oh my gosh. But we're kind of desperate for running back touches when we get to the 6th round. If this was a league where we had the waiver wire, then sure, we can keep passing on running back, but we don't have access to the waiver wire. We have to take a Mike Davis there. Really thought we were going to get Kareem Hunt falling back to us. I am kind of happy that we took Odell Beckham Jr. though, because you do see the wide receiver tier fall off. I mean, we had an Antonio Brown being drafted before our next pick. We had Deebo Samuel, Robbie Anderson going off the board. So I think Odell probably was the right call there at the 508, to be honest, based on how we predicted the wide receiver run to kind of happen with this league. But I think the problem is just not getting Kareem Hunt falling back to us. Y'all know Kareem Hunt, I'm going to have him everywhere. Okay, so let's go through and a big thing with Odell is in a best ball format like this, where you don't have to submit your starting lineup every single week, you're not going to have to predict when he has his random spike weeks, because we know with Odell, he is going to have those spike weeks pop up every now and again. So if he goes out, he gets that random 30-point week, then all of a sudden he slides into our starting lineup, no problem. Okay, so Laviska Shenault at the 611. Foster says, Mason, how much are Antonio Brown's punches worth in half PPR, and how many do you predict over the season? So if you're playing in a league where you get 3 points per punch, Antonio Brown probably a pretty intriguing target, especially at the beginning of the 6th. All jokes aside, we definitely did talk about Antonio Brown in a video that comes out on Sunday. I believe that video is going to come. So we talk about Antonio Brown and why he's going significantly higher in these underdog drafts compared to ESPN leagues, and why I think that he's an intriguing shot at some upside. But that's the same video where we just talk about McCole Hardman for like 12 minutes. Robert Williams coming out with a donation says, doing another $10 draft tonight, ? Yeah, we're definitely going to get at least one more draft going. I think the next draft we do will probably be a $50 draft. I mean, I think that it's just more pressure, because with these $10 drafts, with the $5 drafts, I mean, I'm more so using these as practice drafts. That way, when we load up a $50 draft, a $100 draft, because if you do some simple math, literally if I go through and if I do 10 $5 drafts, it literally equals half of one of the $100 drafts. So I'm more so using these as a lot of practice to become a better drafter, try out different things. So every night I do want to be getting at least a $50 or a $100 draft going, because in those I'm not practicing. In those I just have to go out there and I have to kind of put up or shut up. So we're going to get at least one $50 draft going tonight. What should the goal be for tonight in terms of getting a fourth draft? Because we do it every single night where we started this live stream late because the games. We're probably going to have to set an aggressive goal. We'll do, if this live stream gets 500 likes, we'll do another draft after the $50 one. So we're doing another draft no matter what, but if this live stream gets 500 likes, we'll do a fourth. Okay, so we have that run on receiver here. Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, DJ Chark, Michael Gallup, Juju Smith-Schuster. This is honestly, you're kind of expecting a run on receiver. That's nothing that's out of the ordinary. So now we're pulling this up, and so Russell Wilson is falling. The problem is I just don't know if we can take Wilson. So Chase Edmonds goes. So we have a DK Metcalf on this team. But honestly, I wish we didn't take Patrick Mahomes. I know Mahomes at the 405 is a great pick considering Tyreek Hill. I wish we would have gone receiver. We're probably going to go with the receiver here, knowing the teams behind us can't draft a running back. We're going to go with the McCole Hardman, someone that I will not shut up about. And at the same time, the reason we're going with the McCole Hardman here is we have Mahomes, we have Tyreek Hill. So it makes a lot of sense to get the double stack. So we're going to go with the McCole Hardman, expecting these teams behind us to go with a lot of wide receivers. And yeah, you do see Will Fuller going. You see Russell Wilson going. I would like to get Russell Wilson, but the problem is we took Mahomes in the fourth. When you take Mahomes in the fourth, you're so tied up in what you can do with your next quarterback spot. You're so tied up. Okay, so Carter, Cooks go at the 7-11 and the 7-12. So with McCole Hardman, I probably would have just taken Michael Carter there if it wasn't for the fact that we do have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. So we're already making that bet on the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now Curtis Samuel at the 801. Now if we're looking at these teams, so the teams before us, 3 running backs, 4 running backs. And then you also look, keep in mind, this is a league where you have to start 3 receivers. 3 receivers, 4 receivers. So that's why I'm kind of making a bet that these teams here are going to have to go receiver. Very intriguing to see a Raheem Mostert here. I think that's honestly probably a bad selection. Now we're going to have to take another running back that I do not like. Back-to-back running backs that I hate, but we have no option. And the one spot I am taking Damien Harris is where we're not looking for upside. Instead, we're just looking for a floor. Y'all know I've been on the train saying avoid Damien Harris when I've seen him go in the 6th round. And I've been saying avoid Damien Harris at that price and instead draft Ramondre Stevenson in the last round. Especially with Sony Michel getting usage, Damien Harris looks like a horrendous pick, but we kind of need someone that's going to have a role on his offense. And it comes down to that. It's so simple. I think when we have Hill, Metcalf, Woods, Odell, McCole Hardman at receiver, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, of course we're going to be weak at running back, but we at least need some touches. We need some touches. Okay. So Jarvis Landry, Jalen Waddle go directly after us. Caden says, check out my start at the 104, Mason. Yes, sir. Let me go through, check this out from Caden at the 104. So the 104 at running back, he has Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Trey Sermon at receiver, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Gallup, and getting Justin Herbert here at the 809. That is wild value with Justin Herbert. I love this. I love this. Obviously, you don't have a stack. Actually, you do have a stack with Keenan Allen. I was going to say I love the Herbert value regardless of if you had Keenan Allen or not. That is a fantastic. That team is significantly better than mine, my man. I wish I had that start. Rory says Harris in the 8th is amazing. WTF. Damien Harris is not going to have a role in the passing offense at all in New England. We have already seen that time and time again. He actually has less targets than games played in the NFL. A very similar thing happened in college. And to go along with this, Ramondre Stevenson, I think, is just a more appealing player to have for completely free. We were saying this before the preseason, so don't just think I'm saying this because of the preseason games. If anything, the preseason games just confirm it. So we are going to take Damien Harris there at the 805. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so A.J. Dillon, Ronald Jones go here. Michael Thomas at the 901. Michael Thomas a little less valuable in this format than Rodgers at the 902. So Jayan says James Robinson over Damien Harris all day. Yeah, the big thing is, let me pull up the exposure. Y'all know I've done hundreds. Y'all know I've done 100 drafts at least on Underdog. So let me pull up the exposure that I currently have on a Damien Harris and try to figure out. I mean, exactly how much we're on him. So if we pull up Damian Harris, let's have this load. Come on, Underdog. Come on. So Hollywood Brown goes to the 904. Henry Ruggs to the 903. I really like this Hollywood value. I mean, obviously, the injury's a concern, but at the same time, you do have Rashad Bateman going down. And with a Hollywood Brown, I mean, he's going to give you the spike weeks. I think he's the guy that you want in a best ball format. Now, Joe Burrow at the 905. Are my exposures really not going to load? Marvin Jones at the 906. Okay, so I guess our exposures aren't going to load on another screen. Instead, let's pull this up. Let's figure out where we are going to be going. So we have one quarterback. Can't really look QB. We can't look QB. We're only running back, receiver, tight end from here. So running back, I think we probably get Zach Moss. Zach Moss, like I said, when we drafted Devin Singletary, I hated both these Buffalo running backs last season, but I think now that we know they're going to be attached to those elite offenses, we're going to be completely fine with that value that we're getting. So let's take a Zach Moss there. Let's catch up on where K. Warren has gone with his draft so far, where he has Barkley, Taylor. Love that Taylor value. I was really hoping that we were going to get Taylor falling to us at the 205. Swift, Darrell Henderson, then Galladay, Antonio Brown, Will Fuller, Darnell Mooney, and Tom Brady at the 909. I don't necessarily understand that. I probably would have gone with a receiver over Tom Brady. I probably would have gone receiver over Tom Brady. Connor says, how do you look up how many certain players you have drafted on Underdog? Yeah, that's one great thing about Underdog is you can literally go through, you go to your completed tabs on your draft, and then it says exposure, and you can click exposure, and you can sort it by position. You can sort it by the percentage of leagues that you own that player in, as well as how much the buy-ins were for those leagues. So you can sort it by how much money I've spent on a certain player versus what the buy-in was on that player. Anthony coming out says, are the $50 and the $100 leagues also best ball format? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They're all going to be hosted on Underdog Fantasy. Okay, so Michael Pittman at the 1002. So let's switch this over real quick. So I think it's probably going to be an easy selection for us here to go tight end, I'm assuming, because we're not necessarily dying to draft a quarterback. I mean, a running back with the James Conner, yes, would be appealing, but I think we do have guaranteed touches here. Yes, it's gross. It is what it is at the end of the day. I think we probably just drafted Tyler Higbee. So versus Dallas Goedert. So like I said, I kind of have to take my L. I was drafting too much Dallas Goedert. I was taking him at the 8-9 turn, which I literally learned that mistake, and we are having to move on. I don't know if I went Higbee over Goddard, though. You know what? Let's just take Dallas Goedert. I don't care. I know that we have less Tyler Higbee and it would help our exposures, and we have too much of Dallas Goedert, but it is what it is. I think that we still do prefer Tyler Higbee over Dallas Goedert. Aaron says, I just got here late and just noticed the Underdog sign in the back. That's freaking legit. Yes, sir. That was compliments by Noah G. Girthquake in the Patreon chat. So I'm sure everybody in here knows Noah. So please give him a massive thank you for the Underdog sign. Yeah, and it's like, it's heavy duty. I mean, it's like a metal, it's literally the highest quality thing that you could ever imagine. Like in terms of the metal that it's made out of, like feeling the sign, it is beautiful. Yeah, so we're going to take Goddard, and this is something that I'm a little hesitant with. I think we're probably going to have to go down on the ship saying Dallas Goedert is a tight end that we're drafting very often. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, it would have been a much better situation if Zach Ertz did get moved out of Philadelphia, and that was the assumption we were operating on previously, which doesn't necessarily look like it's correct anymore. But at the end of the day, I mean, Dallas Goedert at the 1005 is still going to be a decent pick. So Robert Tonyan at the 1010. And guys, if you have not dropped a like and subscribed to the channel yet, what are you doing? We live stream every single night. Make sure you go down there, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live. Because if YouTube randomly recommended this stream to you and you clicked on it and you're watching it right now, there's no guarantee that they recommend this stream again if you do not subscribe to the channel. So definitely subscribe if you're enjoying real money fantasy football live drafts every single night. Luke says, how much is the buy-in for the next draft you're doing? The buy-in for the next draft we're doing is probably going to be $50. We're going to do a $50 draft after this. Okay, so Tannehill at the 1101. I think the majority of drafts that we're going to do from now on are going to be either $10 or $50. Because I think with a lot of the $100 leagues, well, yes, we can occasionally do them. I actually really enjoy going through and drafting on Underdog Fantasy through the day, like when I am supposed to be working. Like, obviously I still am, quote unquote, working, but I'm in a fantasy football draft, so I do want to save some money on the side so I can continue to go through and do those drafts. So yeah, we'll probably just do a $50 draft after this one. We'll get some more $100 drafts in going later, but I don't want to be doing them every night like we were. Okay, so Kenyon Drake at the 1102, Devontae Parker at the 1103. Okay, so we have a long run here with no receivers. Devontae Parker at the 1103, the first receiver off the board in literally a round. 12 picks go by without a receiver. I am kind of glad we get Dallas Goedert in a tight end because the tight end position does dry up. And now it looks like we're probably going to have to go with a receiver. Yeah, if I pull up the draft board, receiver's going to be the best. You know what could have been intriguing, though? Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say going with a Tyler Higbee, and we could have got a player like Matthew Stafford on the way back, but it doesn't really matter because Matthew Stafford goes anyway. So instead here, we may take no, the thing is, I want to take a Jalen Hurts to stack with Dallas Goedert, but this is a lesson that we've had to learn the hard way in a multitude of drafts, and going out there and getting a second quarterback at a value. I mean, if we're looking at his ADP right now, he's 22 picks behind his ADP. But at the same time, when we take Mahomes, I don't think we can afford Jalen Hurts. So if Jalen Hurts comes back to us in the next round, we'll definitely draft him. But here instead, I think we're probably just going to take another tight end. Actually, no, with the Mike Gesicki, he lines up on the same bye week. So I don't think we can stack Goddard and Gesicki. Maybe we end up going Hurts. I think we go Jalen Hurts. Okay, so with Jalen Hurts here, he's on a different bye as Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be our last quarterback that we were drafting. It kind of sucks that we had Mike Gesicki and Dallas Goedert on the same bye week. But I guess we're just going to get Jalen Hurts. Hopefully he sees some spike weeks. This is 20 picks behind his ADP. Usually goes here between Tom Brady and Trey Lance at this 9-10 turn. So yeah, we're going to take Jalen Hurts there at the 1108. More so based on the value. The roster construction isn't fantastic, but the receivers in that same range are all pretty much the same for me. So yeah, getting Jalen Hurts, we'll be fine with the receiver that makes it back to us if that's the position we want to go after. Connor says, why not Latavius Murray? Questions with the overall offense. At the same time, I think there's a decent shot Latavius Murray makes it back to us, and there's a 0% chance that Jalen Hurts would have. Yeah, Gesicki, I think, was the right call if we didn't have a Dallas Goedert. Now, I don't think we can go back and kind of blame ourselves too much on taking Goddard over Tyler Higbee and trying to line up a Mike Gesicki later on. Maybe if we're like 500 drafts into the offseason and we're just complete next level, we can do that. But honestly, I don't think my monkey brain can really handle mapping out the draft board that much. Okay, so Nelson Aguilar at the 1102. Connor says, can you do a 25 instead? I'm broke, but I'd like to get in the next draft. Okay, so with Underdog Fantasy, the thing is we're not going to be able to do any $25 drafts. And the reasoning behind that is the fact that they have a Best Ball Mania with the $25 buy-in. So they're really wanting to make it where there are no private drafts with $25 because they want a lot of people playing in Best Ball Mania because they're guaranteeing $1 million on top of that tournament structure. So we can't do a $25 buy-in, my dudes. I'm just very sorry about that. Our options with buy-ins, and this is what I was saying in terms of us passing on a Latavius Murray. We get him here at the pick back around in the 12th round regardless. So we're going to take Latavius Murray here as our running back 4. But going back to it, so with Best Ball Mania, if y'all don't know what Underdog Fantasy is doing, is obviously they have these regular leagues that you can build a 10-man, a 12-man league, whatever you want to do. But they also have a tournament where you enter into a 12-man league, and then the 2 teams that win your 12-man league get first and second. They actually get entered into a tournament afterwards, and then it progresses by rounds. There are 3 rounds of the tournament, and the winner of the tournament gets $1 million on the top. The second place gets like $250,000. Third place gets like $100,000, and it just like progresses down like that. Now, I know the $1 million on the top is correct. Maybe I got second and third place wrong, so definitely double check on that one. But yeah, so they're definitely wanting to prioritize going through and filling those $25 leagues instead of setting up private dollar ones. So we can't do a $25 private draft. Literally, I don't even have the option. Like, I can't set one up because trust me, if I could, I would, my dude. If I could, I would. And what's really interesting about that $25 buy-in as well is coincidentally, that's actually the same exact bonus that you get when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. There's currently a glitch in the system in that they're adding $25 to your account, which is, in my opinion, like the craziest thing ever. So definitely go out, take advantage of that before it's too late. Yeah, so promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Make a $10 deposit, get our draft guide, our rankings, our tiers, hundreds of pages of information, and $25 added to your account. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And let me go through, let me show the top of the draft board real quick, and let's try to figure out where we could have done better in this draft, okay? So I think that Hill, perfectly fine. Metcalf, maybe in a tournament style, Metcalf would have been a fine selection here, knowing that in a tournament, like we were just talking about, that $1 million league, in a public league like that, we know that we get Kareem Hunt making it back to us in the 6th round every single time. But here, I mean, we should understand that that's not happening. I mean, these drafters are going to draft Kareem Hunt significantly more aggressively than what the public is doing. So we should have maybe gone with the Nick Chubb here over a DK Metcalf, to be completely honest, or we should have at least gone with the DeAndre Swift over a Robert Woods. I think we messed up the 2nd or 3rd round. We got a little too cute. We should have gone with the running back. Mahomes, I'm fine with. Odell, I'm honestly fine with, because I think if we went through, if we do this more times than not, these teams at the end, they really needed receivers in this turn. And also there were the elite quarterbacks. We thought that a Lamar or a Kyler Murray were going to go as well. So I'm surprised to see Kareem Hunt not falling back to us, but it is what it is. And here with the McCole Hardman, I think that is fine to go out there and get that double stack with a Patrick Mahomes and a Tyreek Hill, Damian Harris, Zach Moss, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, Latavius Murray, and on the clock. Let's see what we are pulling. And so Rashad Bateman, a massive faller, but at the same time, it's just so hard to take a Rashad Bateman given the injury that he has. So now the question is, if we take an Evan Ingram here, do we have to draft another tight end in this league? And honestly, I don't think so. Let's just take Adam Troutman, a different bye week. So let's get Troutman coming in. He is higher than Evan Ingram according to ADP. And at the same time, I mean, we do want to be diversifying where, yeah, I may like Evan Ingram slightly more in a vacuum. But let's get Adam Troutman in here. And I think we are done at tight end. So now we need 2 more running backs and we need 3 more receivers to round out this draft, because we are done at tight end and we are done at quarterback. Okay, so pulled pork sandwich says I get $10 if the Steelers get over 9 wins, win or loss bet. So you're essentially betting that the Steelers, you're saying if they get over 9 wins. So you're betting that they go 10, 7 or better. I think that honestly, I'd probably take the under. So if you're setting the line at 9.5, I'd probably take the under. Let me look it up real quick for you and let you know what Vegas has, because I promise you Las Vegas has definitely a much better line than I do and a much better read on the situation. I'll be completely honest in saying that, of course. So let me look up Steelers win total. I would say I'll take the under at 9.5. So yeah, the win total's at 9. So I guess we were smart to take that under a 9.5. But yeah, that's right there, my man. I'm gonna have to try to refrain from saying anything on that. Okay, so now let's switch this over. Let's get another pick going here. So we do need to have 2 more running backs and 3 more receivers. So we're honestly fine with whatever the draft room leaves us. So when we have Hill, Metcalf, Woods, Odell, Hardman at the receiver position, we're honestly not even that strong at receiver. This is why I freaking hate drafting Mahomes in the 4th. I hate drafting Mahomes in the 4th so much. So I guess here, let's just get a J.D. McKissic. Let's just get someone that we know is going to have a role on his offense. He doesn't have a bye week that lines up with any of our other running backs. The receivers that are making it back are going to be somewhat similar. So let's just get a J.D. McKissic there. I don't love it whatsoever, but we kind of have to be honest. Now, KJ Hamler, y'all know my guy going at the 1406. I hate seeing KJ Hamler go at the 1406 just because it makes me sad that we were able to get him in the 18th round consistently, and that's not going to happen anymore. Simon Watkins at the 1407. God, this is a mistake that we always make, is going with, I hate every draft that we have with Patrick Mahomes. So if we would have scrolled back up here, like if instead of taking a Mahomes, this is honestly the real mistake that we made. Mahomes was the real mistake. And going with the T. Higgins here instead, which is actually, I probably would have gone with the Julio Jones. If we would have gone with either Julio Jones or Chris Carson, we would have been in a much better place. And that we could have gotten Russell Wilson in the 7th. I am probably done drafting Patrick Mahomes, to be honest, just because the opportunity cost that you give up by taking him in the 4th round is just too much. It's too much. Derek says that Underdog sign is turning my dog on too much. I had to switch to watching my phone again. Are you being like, there's no way your dog was looking at the Underdog sign. There's no way. That's pretty funny though, my man. That's pretty funny. Kyle says, Mason, stop worrying about bye weeks because week 7 exposed you that one time. No, actually, the only time I'm really worried about bye weeks is in a situation where our running back room is this thin, and we're more so looking at someone that's coming on and they're going to be getting a significant role. A smallish role, and we're just going to need a baseline level of floor. So I think J.D. McKissic, he's like a floor play to cover up our bye weeks at the other running back positions. And also, I mean, we made a mistake, I believe, 2 nights ago where we drafted 2 tight ends on the same team with the same bye. So occasionally there is a mistake that it matters with. So I think more so we're just double checking before we draft the player with the bye weeks instead of drafting the player because of the bye weeks. Okay. So you have Damian Williams, Malcolm Brown going afterwards, and Xavier Jones. So we only need one more running back on this team. Aaron says, not to mention Mahomes might not even finish top 3 or top 4. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Russell Wilson in the 7th, just with the receivers in that range versus Mahomes in the 4th with the receivers in that range. I don't know if I can keep on drafting Mahomes. I think I may have to just, maybe in a tournament style, we can draft Mahomes, but in a league like this, I may just have to scratch Mahomes off the board. I just may not be able to do it. Okay. So let's pull this back up. And essentially, we can only go running back receiver from here. We can only go running back receiver. Devin with the donation says, just because I roll with you, Mason, love the content. Going to smash this year in my leagues, no doubt, partially thanks to you. My man, thank you so much for coming out with the donation. I promise you, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that, my man. With our next pick, I think we just get another running back that's going to have a role on his offense. We're either going to get Giovanni Bernard or James White, whoever gets left to us. Now, Gio, obviously, a little more appealing now that we see him get the usage on 3rd downs in Tampa. Between Gio and James White, though, I know this sounds really dumb, but given the 1 week of preseason, because these are guys that would have been neck and neck for me before the preseason, and given the role that we saw Giovanni Bernard have whenever he was going out there and getting snaps on 3rd downs, I think we'd probably just take Gio. I mean, with a James White, it's also a little concerning in that we do have a situation where, I mean, Cam Newton looked pretty good, so maybe Cam Newton starts a little too long for James White to have value, because obviously James White, you need Mac Jones in there. You need someone that's going to dump the ball off. Cam Newton's going to be horrendous for James White. So yeah, we're going to take Gio there. It's not a sexy pick whatsoever. And it probably makes our Adam Trautman pick look really bad as well, knowing that we could have gotten Alexander Madison instead of Adam Trautman, and we could have gotten a Cole Kmet instead of a Giovanni Bernard. So yeah, White goes to the 15-11. And now from here, we're 3 wide receivers in a row. We're just wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Terry says, are you going to do any fantasy basketball leagues? I probably will do some fantasy basketball. I mean, I dabbled in it some last year. I really enjoy fantasy basketball. I don't know if we'll host any, but we'll probably do some of the drafts. We'll probably do some drafts with fantasy basketball. Obviously, that's not going to be for a very long time, though. But it's just really nice to transition like near the end of fantasy football season and go into fantasy basketball. And with fantasy basketball, also, the game is so much more about numbers where, I mean, with fantasy football, there's a lot more variance in it compared to fantasy basketball. There are a lot of different things changing between the two games. So just for me to kind of reset, I'll probably dive some into it, my man. I'll probably dive some. Okay. So now at receiver, we're looking for guys that are going to have roles in their offenses. Between a Donovan Peoples-Jones and a John Brown, we're probably just going to go John Brown here. I know he's the wide receiver 3 in Las Vegas. Clearly, Bryan Edwards is going to be the starting guy over him. But at the same time, I think if we're going to get him here in the 16th round, when we're just kind of taking shots at receivers that we just need to have small roles in their offenses, John Brown's going to be fine. Donovan Peoples-Jones probably has more upside, but we're looking more so for floor here. Danny says, anyone else find it absurd that CBS charges $180 per league? CBS charges $180 for you to host a league on their platform? You have to be joking about that, my man. There's a 0% chance. Terry says, do you know if Underdog will have fantasy basketball leagues? Yes, they will. That's why I'm saying maybe we'll do some on Underdog. Let me know if, guys, can you confirm with Danny, is that true? They're charging $180 to host a league. Underdog charges 10% of the league pot. Like this $10 draft that we're doing, Underdog charges, I think they charge $11 compared to $180. That is ridiculous. In comes out with a donation, says, what do you think about the standalone value of A.J. Dillon? I have to use him at my running back 2 in a PPR 20-team league, unless Rashad Penny looks good. Running back 1 is Aaron Jones. I will say I do not like the idea of having both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on the same roster because it is limiting your upside. But at the same time, A.J. Dillon is someone that I really like to draft because he profiles very similar to Tony Pollard, where if anything were to occur to Aaron Jones, you find yourself with possibly a top 10 running back in fantasy. And at the same time, he does have standalone value. I mean, there's a small chance that he goes out there and he wins the goal line role, which would be absolutely massive for A.J. Dillon in a fantastic offense. So yeah, I think there's a small chance that actually comes through and plays out well for you. The one problem is I just think you are limiting your upside when you go out there and when you end up drafting both of those players. Okay, so now we are about to be back up on the clock. Daniel Jones goes at the 17:04. We're trying to get these quarterbacks off the board. I want those QBs off the board. And now when we're back on the clock, literally the only thing that we can look at the next 2 picks is going to be the receiver position. I don't know why Deshaun Jackson is so high in this ADP. I don't know if I can. Do we just take him for the exposure? I really don't want. No, we're not doing it. We're not freaking doing it. I'm not drafting Deshaun Watson. Quez Watkins. I don't know why Quez Watkins is getting hype. I know he's a speedy guy, but at the same time, I honestly prefer out of all these players, Olamide Zaccheaus. No, we're gonna get Adam Humphries. Come on, get in and get in. We're gonna get Adam Humphries. He ran a lot of routes today with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So let's just get Humphries in there. We're just looking for guys that are gonna have a high floor, guys that are gonna have roles in their offenses at this point. So I know a lot of people probably don't like that selection, but I can't get behind taking a Deshaun Jackson. I don't think I'm ever gonna take a Deshaun Jackson here. Okay, so Quez Watkins goes at the 17:09. Interesting. Come on, let's get this going, guys. Okay, so Ryan Fitzpatrick is still available. I guess because Fitzpatrick possibly looked bad in the preseason game today, people are this off of Fitzpatrick. It's kind of crazy to think about for one preseason game that can actually end up happening. That is wild. Okay, Kadarius Toney, Jerick McKinnon. Okay, so we're just wide receiver. At some point, we have to take Deshaun Jackson, though. I've taken him in one league so far. I mean, we've done 100-plus leagues, guys, so one league is nothing. And when we drafted him previously, we got him in the 18th round. So possibly we're having to draft him here. I honestly maybe prefer Josh Reynolds or Colin Johnson, though. So I'm kind of talking about Deshaun Jackson because I'm hoping he gets drafted before we are on the clock. I'm honestly not going to. I can't draft Deshaun Jackson. I can't bring myself to it. What are we hoping for when we draft Deshaun Jackson? One random spike week? This is going to be a player who knows if he makes it to the season. Instead, I think we go with either Josh Reynolds or Colin Johnson. Now, we've drafted Colin Johnson a lot, so let's just mix it up. Let's go with the Josh Reynolds here. We're going to get Josh Reynolds coming in. This is a team that has a respectable projected points, but that's mainly just with the fact that it's only having 2 quarterbacks, and how you really hack the system and projected points on Underdog is by drafting 3. But obviously, we can't draft 3 quarterbacks here. Isaac says, I'm at the 102. Did I take too many Packers players? Okay, let's go to the 102 real quick. Dalvin, Jefferson, Kittle, love the start. ETN at the 411, I really like it. Jerry Jeudy at the 502. I can't take Jeudy here. I think you have to take Deontay Johnson. You have to take Adam Thielen. You have to take Odell. I can't get behind Jerry Jeudy. Laviska, love it. Devontae Smith, I like it. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Rodgers. What Packers players did you take? MVS, Alan Lazard? Not necessarily. I think you took one too many tight ends. When you take Kittle, you can't be drafting 3 tight ends here. I'll say that. Like you have to cap it at 2 when you take Kittle. So I don't think you drafted too many Packers players. I think you drafted too many tight ends though. Okay. So let's get another draft going. I'm not going to send out a poll or anything for anybody wanting to come out to this next one. I'm just going to send out the link. It's going to be a $50 draft, and I'm going to just label it $50 draft here. Very simple. Let me go through, grab that really quick. Create private draft. Share this draft. Let's grab that link. Jan says the Fulgham hype is back. That is disgusting. Let's not talk about Fulgham here. Okay, Julia's coming out, says have the 7th pick so far in order: Adams, Hopkins, Kittle, Carson, Higgins, Kyler Murray, Hunt, Deebo Samuel. What should I emphasize from this point on? Man, that's a fantastic start. So your running back room, you have Carson, Hunt. I think you do need to emphasize getting some running backs in that you think have some upside. Because that receiver, you're already so loaded with Adams, Hopkins, Higgins, Deebo. You already have a very high floor at receiver, a high ceiling as well. So I think you want to emphasize running back. Now we are at the 110. This is a $50 league. So this is going to be a spot where I can't read the chat as much. Of course, I will go down. I'll check the chat. But I need to be making sure we're giving our undivided attention here to this draft. And guys, please make sure y'all go down there, drop a like on the live stream if y'all are enjoying it. If y'all want to have another draft after this, make sure y'all are going down there, dropping that like, subscribing to the channel as we do these live streams every single night. Okay, so at the 110, Girthquake got in this one. Okay, Girthquake, that's Noah. He's the guy who made us this sign and this sign. So he's made us the entire studio, essentially. So let's see. I'm happy he gets the 101. Let's see if he's in the chat right now. I know a lot of times he'll hop in these drafts and it's not necessarily, I guess he's in the chat because the link gets sent out in the chat. Let me at Noah then. Let's add him real quick. Okay, so he is on the clock, so he is going to get the benefit of getting Christian McCaffrey. And guys, if y'all want me to go behind the scenes, y'all know how smart I am with computers. Y'all know how I'm a master hacker. If y'all want me to go behind the scenes during the live stream and hook you up with the 101 to get Christian McCaffrey, the number one way you can do it is contribute to the channel. Make us some signs. The easiest way. Okay, so Zeke at the 104. So the good thing is in those $10 drafts, we've been practicing. We've been getting out some new tactics. So let's bring these secret tactics to this draft. Let's see if we can pull something off. Let's see if we can pull it off. JB Pats says, nice drafting with you finally. Get that like for sure to support the stream. Guys, this guy's putting in work. My man, JP Pats, I was very happy that you were able to hop in. I honestly thought that you had been in a draft with us previously. I guess maybe it's just you're in the live. I always read your YouTube comments, and at the same time, you're always in the live chat. So maybe that's why I just thought that you were in a draft with us. But I'm happy you were finally able to get out to one. Okay, so now let's... Okay, so Travis Kelce at the 108. Honestly, I'm kind of happy that Kelce goes because I know I would have taken Kelce at the 110, and the rosters that we build with Kelce, I don't really like, to be honest. So let's see where some Panda decides to go here at the 109. He goes Barkley. Just give me 1 second here, guys. So the difference between Diggs, Ridley, Hopkins isn't that much for me. So I'm just going to go Aaron Jones. We're just going to go Aaron Jones here at the 110. I know in another draft we did earlier tonight, we took a Stephon Diggs, but like I said, we're trying different things out. For the $50 league, we're going to take Aaron Jones. We're not messing around. We're just going through and we're going to put up or shut up. That's what I say. $50 league, put up or shut up. Let's go Aaron Jones. Noah says, Mason, did you see the message on the back of the sign? Left mouse off. Yes, sir. I saw the message on the back of the sign. Yes, sir. It was 100% true. 100% true. Okay, Horn Pout says, what are these drafts like? Real leagues, not mocks? These are not mock drafts. These are all real money fantasy football drafts. They are best ball drafts. So what you do is you go through, you enter into the league with a buy-in. This is a $50 draft. And then you do not touch the league for the rest of the season. You do not submit your starting lineup. You do not do waivers. And this is perfect. If you're someone that you're already in a league that you really enjoy with your friends, that you want to commit your time to the waiver wire and to submitting your starting lineup every single week in that format, here you can get in real money fantasy football leagues that you win money at the end of the season. It's a regular pot like everything else, but your automatic best starting lineup gets submitted for you at the end of the year every single time. I'm sorry, at the end of the week, every single week. So yeah, it's a perfect format for people trying to get better at fantasy football. So now we're going to go Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor to start this off. If we would have had a Calvin Ridley if we would have had oh my God, I'm so dumb. We probably should have gone DeAndre Hopkins here. I'm not going to lie. This is why I need to stop reading the chat. I need to stop reading the chat. I need to stop reading the chat because this is a spot that I saw 3 receivers go here. So I automatically assumed that this guy was DeAndre Hopkins and it was DK Metcalf. I probably prefer the start of going Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins over Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor. But considering this room's looking a little more running back heavy with Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Nick Chubb all going up for the 206 and DeAndre Hopkins falling to the 207, maybe it's probably a good thing to start running back early here. It's going to be interesting. This is something I want to check. Matt says, what did you major in at UT? I actually majored in fantasy football at UT. And I have a minor as well in fantasy basketball. I didn't take that as seriously though, mainly fantasy football. I took a lot of unique classes like Dynasty 101, best ball strategy, best ball construction. I mean, that was an upper division course. So it was actually more so I had a lab with that as well. But yeah, that was my major at the University of Texas. Okay, so Nick Chubb at the 204, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon. Okay. So Jefferson goes to the 210. This is just fantastic value. I mean, y'all know that I am off of Derrick Henry. I have him ranked at our 106, so I am fine taking Derrick Henry at 106. I would take him over these players. But to start Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, that's a beautiful start. Very rarely do you see Derrick Henry teams looking that good. Okay, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 211. Honestly, when we start Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, we probably are hoping that we get some running backs going off the board after. I mean, we probably want some running backs going off here. Darren Waller goes to the 212. I've seen in those public leagues, like the $1 million leagues, you've actually had George Kittle falling down here. And obviously, it would be a dream to get Kittle. I'm not expecting it. But it's kind of crazy that you're seeing in the public underdog leagues that the tight ends in a Darren Waller and a George Kittle, they're falling a little bit. I mean, especially when you get later on in the draft, the tight ends are definitely falling. Okay, so Girthquake, he starts this off with CMC, Darren Waller, CeeDee Lamb. Okay, a very balanced start. Let's see who he took a CeeDee Lamb over. He took Lamb over Keenan Allen. Really the only guy, I mean, you would, in my opinion, consider taking over CeeDee Lamb would be Keenan Allen there. So I really like it. Okay, so I don't even know what we want falling back to us. All I know is spam it in the chat. We are not taking Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round. No matter what, I don't care what happens. We are not taking Patrick Mahomes. Foster says, why do you always wear formal attire? Because there's nothing that I take as serious in my life as fantasy football. And I'm being 100% honest with that. This is everything that I'm devoting everything to. So might as well take it seriously from top to bottom. So yeah, that is why, my man. That is why. Okay, so let's see. Girthquake says, okay, I'm confused here. I'm confused. I do. Okay, Noah says, Mason, maybe I'm missing a message. I don't see what you are talking about in the chat. In says, how many underdog leagues are you in at this point? Over 100. I'm in over 100 leagues. I've already said that I'm going over 200 because especially if we get the 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, which should be very easy because when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added to your account. You get my 2021 draft guide, my 2021 rankings, my 2021 tiers. I mean, you get all of that because of this fantastic partnership, hundreds of pages of information. I mean, we could be selling that draft guide realistically for $80. If we're going to combine those two draft guides and you're getting paid $25 to go out there to take them and to do these fantasy football drafts. I mean, Underdog did this partnership because they were so confident that you were going to like their platform that they just really want you to try it out. And obviously it's only been around for 2 years now. So they really want you to try it out. And I promise you, you're going to love it. Ask anybody in the chat. Like, seriously, guys. Okay, we're going to take Dobbins here. I don't like it starting 3 running backs. Literally, this is like the exact opposite of the build that we had. But when you already have a Tyler Lockett going off the board, I think we kind of have to take Dobbins. And both these teams start with this team here starts 2 receivers. So we're going to go 3 running backs. But ask the people in the chat. Ask them in a couple questions here. Because I know a lot of people, including myself, if I heard someone on YouTube saying I got all of that for making a $10 deposit on a fantasy site that I wanted to play on regardless, I know I would go, that's BS. There's no way that's true. There has to be some kind of tie to this. Ask anybody in the chat right now. Please, everybody in the chat, let them know how legit this is. Let them know if you got the draft guide. Let them know if you got the rankings. And also let them know if you like Underdog Fantasy. And that's why we're doing this every single night, because it is perfect. It is perfect. Okay. So we have those running backs going off the board after we pick. So we get our guy falling to us, Patrick Mahomes, in the 4th round. Load him up. Just kidding. Obviously, we're not going Mahomes here. Obviously, we're going with our favorite wide receiver at his value this season. We're going to go with a Chris Godwin here as our first wide receiver. I actually really like this start. I really like this start. Okay, so Barkley, Nick Chubb. Okay, Sheldon says legit, and I draft daily. Let's go through. Matthew says it's legit. Foster says got the draft guide rankings, and I like it. Jayan says it's too legit to quit. Willie copies him saying that. CMC says 10 out of 10 would recommend. Pete says completely legit and awesome. Everybody's saying too legit to quit. I don't know where that's coming from, but regardless, guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, make sure you take advantage of this because there's nothing better. And if we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, we are flying people out to Tampa, Florida. We are going to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. We're going and doing the Florida Flock meetup. We're going to vlog it all. I'm going to do a 24-hour live stream. So let's make sure that happens. That would be incredibly exciting. Okay. So we have a little run on receivers. Honestly, it's going to be interesting because we're going to be in a tier where we could be looking at the elite quarterbacks once we get to this 5-6 turn. And at the same time, we're going to be in that tier 2 of tight ends, guys like Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, possibly a Kyle Pitts falls to us. I doubt it. But the receivers, we're going to be in no man's land at receiver. And this is why I really don't like punting receiver in the first few rounds in this league in particular, because you start 3 on a week-to-week basis. So it does get very scary. And I'm telling you, we've seen it every single draft. You're going to have the wide receiver run here happen. The receivers that are going to be best available when we're back up on the clock are going to be guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Jerry Jeudy, Robbie Anderson. And that's not a range that you like. So this is the hardest range to draft. And this is why I kind of wanted to go with a DeAndre Hopkins in the second round, because you get the free pass when you go with the DeAndre Hopkins in the second round, and that you get a bone just thrown to you and says, hey, you can just draft Kyler Murray in the 5th. Don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. But now we're in a much harder spot, to be honest. Steve says, I just visited Tampa in April. Really enjoyed it 1,000 times more than Miami. Yeah, I've never been to Miami. The only cities I've been to in Florida, Tampa. I think that's it. Outside of like driving through places, Tampa's the only place I've been in Florida. And obviously I moved here and then I work I quote unquote work. I do fantasy football content about 16 hours a day, 14, 15, 16 hours a day. So I don't have any time to go and drive to see anything. Maybe I'll go and visit Florida a little bit later on after the season's done. But for now, I do like Tampa. Okay. So Josh Jacobs goes to the 502. We kind of want to see these running backs going off the board. So DBO starts 4 receivers in a row. Keep in mind, this is a $50 league, guys. There's real stakes in the line. He goes Adams, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk. Going to be interesting to see what Dab does, because I'm not going to say it while he's on the clock because I don't want to be an ass and then get someone sniped. So let's wait a little bit because I know there's going to be a delay on the stream. Let's wait until this gets to about 8 seconds, then I can say it. And this is what I'd be thinking if I was Dab right here. Okay, so there's a delay so we can say it. Yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have drafted Miles Sanders so DBO could not have had Miles Sanders free in the 5th round. So he goes with a Kyle Pitts instead. So he has completely punted the running back position, which I actually do like this strategy in the tournament style formats that Underdog has. But in this regular 12-man league, not a massive fan of going down there and just punting that hard. Okay, so now when we're back up on the clock, I think there's one player in my mind that we're definitely going to be drafting. I think that obviously a receiver is going to be at a need. Graham coming out, subscribing to the channel. Thank you for subscribing, Graham. Okay, so let's see. TJ Hawkinson goes. So we're going to get Lamar Jackson here. Lamar Jackson is someone that I embarrassingly do not have in that many leagues. I mean, I love Lamar. He's literally my quarterback 2 in fantasy drafts right now. I just find myself in a lot of spots taking a Kyler over him, given the fact that we draft DeAndre Hopkins a lot in the second round. But I need to go out of my way. I need to start getting a Lamar Jackson. We also have J.K. Dobbins on this team. And that sucks because when we take a Lamar, we're really hoping that we are getting Mark Andrews falling to us in the 6th round. So not seeing that option does kind of suck. But we'll have so many chances to stack a Lamar Jackson later on. I need to start drafting more Lamar. It's something that I literally was walking the dog earlier today, and I thought that in my mind. I mean, I was sitting there going, we checked our Underdog exposures earlier this morning. I was like, how do I have Lamar Jackson ranked as my quarterback 2? And I literally have him like nowhere. How am I not drafting him? I need to go out of my way, and I need to make sure we're drafting Lamar Jackson. Garrett says, Tyreek Hill hurt now? Question mark. Just got an update. Let me go through. I'll search Tyreek Hill after we make this next pick. So this next pick will be in a spot where I honestly, I don't need to say anything. Let's wait till Lithium goes. He has Swift, Montgomery, Diggs, DK Metcalf, and Mark Andrews. I hate that he takes Mark Andrews from us. He goes Deebo Samuel, so we're going to go with an Odell Beckham Jr. here. Now, a big thing is we could go with either, Javonte Williams, I do prefer him over Mike Davis. Going with the Javonte Williams, though, when we've already invested so much into the running back position, would make me very hesitant to go through and to continue to invest into it. So then we kind of catch up on receiver when we only have one receiver through the first 5 rounds. We're going to take Odell Beckham Jr. here. Now, it's more so this is the gross range in the wide receiver kind of tier in that you're in no man's land. You don't know where to go. So we're going to go with Odell. I love Laviska Shenault at the same time, but I think we kind of have to go with Odell. Kyle says, how the F is Lamar Jackson, your quarterback 2? So with Lamar Jackson, if you actually look at what he did in 2019, not only was he the quarterback 1 in fantasy, but he was the quarterback 1 in fantasy in a tier above everyone else. Now, this is off the top of my head, so I could be wrong, and I will go through and I'll double check this on the live stream. But I believe the number was 15% in terms of the difference between Lamar Jackson's points per game and the second best quarterback that year, which obviously is an extreme difference in the edge that you were getting every single season. Maybe it was a little bit higher than that. Maybe I'm thinking of that and what you had at the receiver 1 position that year. Yeah, no, it was actually significantly more than that. So if I go through, let me figure this out. Let's go, we'll divide 21.73 minus 27.98. Actually, we did that wrong. Give me 1 second. I'm figuring this out because obviously I've done so much research going through in that draft guide, in those rankings that I put out when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You get all of that. And my God, I did not mean to move that ticker over there. Dear Lord. Okay, there we go. Let me switch this back. Okay, so let's figure this out real quick with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I had this all in the draft guide. So if you want to get that draft guide, just use $10, deposit on Underdog Fantasy, get into some fantasy drafts, get the draft guide, get the rankings. I have an explanation there. But if we go back to 2019 and look how dominant he was, I mean, this is a quarterback that if we look, give me 1 second, he actually had 22% more points per game than the second best quarterback in Deshaun Watson in 2019. That is ridiculous. That's to the point where he is such a league-winning quarterback that if you don't have him, you're not winning your league. I mean, literally, it was, do you have Lamar Jackson or do you have Christian McCaffrey to win fantasy football leagues in 2019? Now they upgrade the entire roster. They bring in Sammy Watkins for $5 million. They have Devin Duvernay going into year 2. They have Miles Boykin going into year 3. They have Rashad Bateman, first-round pick coming in. Hollywood Brown is hopefully going to be playing a better role for him this upcoming season, where he was miscast as the alpha receiver in the offense last year, and he's more so a field stretching option. So yeah, there's so many signs, in my opinion, to point to Baltimore being a better overall passing unit, and we've already seen Lamar Jackson demonstrate the elite upside that we're searching for in a quarterback. So yeah, I have Lamar as my quarterback too, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with it, but in a 4-point passing touchdown league, I want to go with Lamar. Steve says, so what happened with Lamar Jackson in 2020? What happened is he was throwing the ball to nobody. Literally, Hollywood Brown was getting like he was getting like 25% of that team's target share. A Hollywood Brown cannot be a receiver that's getting 25% of your team's targets or your toast. Like, there's Nothing you can do about that. Okay, so now when we're going to be back on the clock, I don't think we're going to look at it. I need to be quiet. Because it's a $50 league. While I do want to give you all my thoughts as we approach the clock, I have $50 on the line here. So I have to take it as seriously as I can. Let's see, DJ Chark at the 708. Luke says, can you scroll up this so I can see your team? Yes, sir. I'll show off that team in 1 second. I think we have to go receiver here because a lot of these running backs are in the same tier. So we could end up just with another running back coming back to us if that's the position we want. We only have Chris Godwin, Odell at receiver, and at running back, we have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. So we're going to take a Will Fuller at the 710. I've drafted a ton of Will Fuller this year. So yeah, let's take Fuller. And the thing is, they're just 4 running backs. They're not going to be 4 running backs that go off the board in the next 4 picks. So let's see what these teams do. I can't necessarily consider Justin Herbert with this build when we take a Lamar Jackson in the 5th. We're already kind of pot committed to a Lamar Jackson. Also, I don't even know if we really want to be drafting a running back, to be honest. So Jarvis goes to the 801. Myles Gaskin, just a massive, massive faller. And he should be a faller. That's the problem. Myles Gaskin should be a faller. I hated him beforehand. So if I draft, but the problem is if I draft Gaskin now, I'm still going to be drafting 5 running backs on this team. So is it really doing anything for us when we have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins? Is it making me regret my J.K. Dobbins pick in the 3rd? Or do we just prefer getting a Brandon Cooks? I think we kind of have to draft Myles Gaskin. I think we just have to. In the 8th round, the projected volume. Y'all know I hate Myles Gaskin. I've been the #1 hater of Myles Gaskin for I don't know how long now. But at this price, we have to draft him. And let's show off this team. So we go Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Godwin, Lamar Jackson, Odell, Will Fuller, Myles Gaskin. Yeah. Myles Gaskin going to be a pick that I really don't like making. We have him in very few leagues because I was laughing at people when they were taking him in the 5th round. Myles Gaskin was going in the 5th round consistently, guys. Now getting him in the 8th, we'll be fine with it. We'll be fine with it. Liam says we have to take Brandon Cooks there. Okay, so hopefully we don't regret that. Hopefully we don't regret it. I'll agree that if I was going to go with the receiver, we would have gone with Brandon Cooks. Maybe we regret that later on, but we'll see what running backs go off the board between our next few picks. Chadwick says, time to hammer receivers, my dude. Yes, sir, I agree with you. It is time to hammer receivers. 100% time to hammer receivers. Unexpected Savage says, you getting Gaskin pretty much put the hammer in Team 5. So Team 5 here, let's look at this team for Team 5. I'll say in a tournament style, I understand the appeal of going through and constructing your roster like this. But in just a 12-man league, I don't necessarily think that it makes sense. Adams, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk. I literally had this exact same start, and I am not lying about this whatsoever, in 2 drafts earlier today, where the only difference was instead of Amari, you switched this in one of the drafts. I had an Allen Robinson, and the other I had a Keenan Allen. So I had this very same start, but that was for a tournament style. And from there, we were getting running backs that were going to have touches. So I guess when you get sniped on this trio of running backs, then you're kind of in no man's land here. Getting a Dak. I think you honestly probably have to take a Mike Davis here instead of Dak Prescott. Then an Aaron Rodgers at the 705. A.J. Dillon as your first running back off the board. That is ballsy. I'll say in a tournament style, I understand it. In a league like this, I don't. Horn Pout says, Brandon Cooks, one of the most underrated receivers in NFL history, in my opinion. Man, you were talking to the guy that was so in love with Brandon Cooks in New Orleans that whenever you actually had Michael Thomas coming into the NFL in that 2016 draft, I was screaming that, keep in mind, this is after Michael Thomas put up a very good first and second year. I was screaming that Brandon Cooks was still the wide receiver 1 in New Orleans and that when people were drafting Michael Thomas over him, they were making a massive mistake. Then Brandon Cooks gets traded to New England and Michael Thomas just goes on a tear in New Orleans. So you're talking to someone, I'm not joking about this, guys. I wrote for a fantasy football website back when I was it was 2014 when I started writing for a fantasy football website. I'm not going to give them a free plug because they didn't necessarily do anything. And I was writing for a fantasy football website for probably 2 years back in 2014, 2015. Maybe it was 2015, 2016. It was 2015, 2016. And I had, because I was in high school, so I didn't want people to know that I was in high school and I was going through and doing that. So I didn't want to have a real picture of me out there. So instead of having a real picture of me out there, I had Brandon Cooks as my avatar for a very long time. I had a picture of Brandon Cooks in New Orleans as my avatar for a very long time. Okay, so now, yeah, I'm kind of happy with the Myles Gaskin pick. I mean, if we look at Gaskin, once Zach Moss, James Conner, Ronald Jones are going off the board here in the 9th, I mean, what running backs were going to be available to us? See, I think we made the right selection with Myles Gaskin. Look at what happened to the running back position after we take Gaskin. We're going to have a lot of receivers coming back to us. So now Elijah Moore goes. Now this is tough. We're going to take Darnell Mooney. Yeah, we're just going to take Darnell. We can get a tight end on the way back too. We're going to go Darnell Mooney at the 9-10. These teams behind us, 3 running backs, 4 receivers. So they can really go any way they want. They can possibly get a tight end here in I Am Dreams. Has no tight end so far. So Russell Gage at the 9-11. That is surprising. Tyler Higbee at the 9-12. Okay, so the reason I took Darnell Mooney here is mainly just because very rarely are you going to have the chance to draft him at the 9-10. I'm not a fan of Darnell Mooney whatsoever. I'm going to be completely honest. But what's funny is people were telling us to draft him in the last round. People were going, oh man, you messed up. You didn't draft Darnell Mooney when it was the beginning of the 8th. So now getting him, I mean, this far after, like 20 picks after, I think we just kind of have to take him. Michael Pittman at the 10-01. See where Lithium goes. Maybe he goes to Goddard. Is it going to be the 3rd draft in a row we have to draft a Dallas Goddard? Literally the 3rd draft in a row we take him. This is it. This is the team. This is the team here. This is it. We won this draft. Drop a like on this live stream for this masterpiece that we just pulled off. Now, what I was debating is going and getting the Hollywood Brown stack with Lamar Jackson in the 9th round. I figured the value was too good on a Darnell Mooney to pass it up. So going through looking at this team, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Myles Gaskin at running back. At quarterback, Lamar Jackson. At receiver, Chris Godwin, Odell Beckham Jr., Will Fuller, Darnell Mooney, Hollywood Brown. I really like it. I really like this team. We're only going to have to draft 2 quarterbacks. We're going to have to draft 5 running backs, 3 tight ends, 8 receivers. Okay, that's going to be the construction of this team. That was perfect for us. That was perfect for us. So Robert Tonyan, Dallas Goedert go off the board. Gus Edwards. And I want to see running backs going off because we are going to draft another running back, but I don't want to be drafting another guy until like we get to James White. I want our last running back draft pick to be very late on. Very late. Very late. CDJ says, would be perfect if you got Patrick Mahomes in round 4. Yeah, that would have been disgusting. That would have been disgusting. Jayan says, Goodwin over Mooney. My man. Hopefully, because I have Darnell Mooney. Let me see if Underdog will load my exposures right now. Let's see if they'll load my exposures because I really want to show, because it's kind of fun. I can go through and tell you exactly how much I've drafted a certain player. Like I want to tell you exactly how much I've drafted Darnell Mooney right now. Okay, so the exposures load. Let me search for Darnell Mooney. I probably have drafted him in like less than 5% of my leagues. Okay, if anybody wants to take a guess on how much I've drafted Darnell Mooney, by all means, go for it. Okay, so Darnell Mooney, keep in mind I've done 100 plus leagues. I've done 100 plus drafts. How many drafts do you think I've taken Darnell Mooney in? I'll just give you the percentage. We've drafted Darnell Mooney in 4% of our leagues. Very, very, very few. Let me go through. Let me see some of the receivers that we have drafted, like literally none of. Guys that are going decently high in drafts. Because obviously you'll see like we have 1% Jamison Crowder. He's going so late. Doesn't really matter. Someone that we have drafted very few shares of. Surprisingly, Justin Jefferson, we only have 4%. I think that's more so we don't get picks early on, and when we do, we get Darren Waller instead. Robbie Anderson, we only have 5%. Julio Jones, we only have 5%. Terry McLaurin, we only have 5%. Honestly, that's too much with Terry McLaurin. I need to stop drafting him. I can't believe I have 5% Terry McLaurin. Yeah, a lot of people are going 4% for Darnell Mooney. Yeah, I have 4% Darnell Mooney, which is half of what you'd expect, because the average ownership percentage you're going to have, because I'm playing only in 12-man leagues, because I think 12-man leagues are going to be the best leagues to play in, is going to be 8%. So we're like at half. And some running backs that we had to draft earlier today, we had to draft Mike Davis in a league. We're at 2.1% Mike Davis. We go through, and actually we're on the clock right now. So let's stop looking at our exposures. Let's pull this back up. Irv Smith is going to be a very easy selection. We don't have a tight end. I mean, there's nothing to think about. We're taking Irv Smith. He's sitting at the top of the ADP. We don't have a tight end. Let's get Irv Smith. It's going to be a couple picks behind where he's usually going. So I think that if we go through, we get a second tight end like a Mike Gesicki, maybe we don't have to take a third. D-Wise says, bro, do not take a fifth running back. That's a waste of a pick. I will say, yes, it's a waste of a pick if we were playing in Best Ball Mania or the Puppy. We're going straight upside, but this is a 12-man league, so we need to have a higher floor than just thinking about our pure ceiling. Okay, so Confirm says, Mason, how do you feel about having the same wide receivers on the same team in a Dynasty league? Honestly, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Okay, so the 1203. So probably not going to consider Latavius Murray here. I think we still need to be getting wide receivers on this team. I would have taken a Mike Gesicki if he fell back to us at the 1203, but I'm not going to be reaching on a Jonnu Smith here. So we're mainly just going to be looking at receiver. Now, Rashad Bateman's someone that I'm mainly trying to avoid in a best ball format, considering we want points in our lineup week 1. So if this was a tournament style, I'd be slamming Rashad Bateman here for the tournament at the end of the season, but we're not going to be in the tournament at the end of the season with this kind of league. So instead, we are more so looking at production through the entire roster. Do we still go with the Bateman considering we have Lamar? No, because we have Dobbins and Hollywood. We already have enough exposure to the Baltimore Ravens offense. Let's just get Emmanuel Sanders. Let's just draft Emmanuel Sanders. Let's just get someone that we know is going to have a role in his offense and one of the most prolific passing offenses in the NFL this season. So let's go with Emmanuel Sanders. Let's scroll down here as well. JN says, would you rather have a Gaskin / wide receiver 12th over Brandon Cooks? Okay. So let's go through, and JN's essentially asking, let's try to map this out real quick. I know what JN's doing. He's trying to look at our 2v2. So here, instead of going with a Myles Gaskin, do we prefer, because I would have taken a Brandon Cooks instead of a Myles Gaskin, do we prefer the combination of Brandon Cooks and then getting Malcolm Brown way later on? Like Malcolm Brown in the 14th versus the wide receiver we're going to get in the 14th? I'll say probably not, man. You know that I'm not a fan of Myles Gaskin whatsoever, and I've been with you saying that Malcolm Brown's a very intriguing running back to have there when we've been saying that for a very long time. But, I mean, just in the 8th round, I think it's a fair price to pay for Myles Gaskin, to be honest. 5th round was horrendous, but in the 8th round, if we come out in another preseason game, we see Malcolm Brown be the clear starting running back there, and Myles Gaskin is still working with the second team, then I think we have to drop him another round. Then I think we probably can't look to draft him anywhere near this range. But for now, I think we can't afford to draft Myles Gaskin here. Okay. So let's switch this back over. Chadwick says, Bills run 4 wide receiver sets, most in the league. Yes, sir. That's why I'm actually going through, and I'm drafting very often on Underdog. I'm drafting Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, and Cole Beasley. Not really on the same team, but I'm getting a lot of those receivers just sporadically through my leagues because they're going to be running a lot of routes with Josh Allen. And if you think that Josh Allen is deserving of being one of the favorites to lead the NFL in passing yards this year, I mean, you kind of want those receivers. We're not projecting a ton of volume to go to a player like a Dawson Knox at tight end. You're not projecting to Devin Singletary to see a ton of usage in the receiving game. So it's mainly going to be the receivers that are in that offense. Okay, so I said we were going to have 500 likes for another draft after this one. I think we can lower that bar. let me know what y'all think a realistic goal is for us to get another draft going after this. Now, keep in mind, it is midnight where I'm currently at. It is midnight on the East Coast. So let me know. Let me know. Woody says, is it only me seeing random clips from The Office popping up on the screen? So no, those are the alerts of the live stream. Like if someone makes the donation, then their name pops up on the stream. I need to figure out how to make small adjustments to that where their name pops up a little larger. And then also, if someone subscribes to the channel, their name also pops up on the screen. Let me know if the GIFs that pop up on the screen when someone donates or subs, let me know if that's very distracting for y'all. If that's very distracting, I can't get rid of it. If it's not that big of a deal, it's whatever. Okay, so Latavius falls very far here at the 1306. That's very interesting. Very interesting to see Latavius fall that far. Okay, we do not want to go in autopilot mode. That would be no bueno. Okay, so from here, I guess we can start looking at quarterbacks again. I mean, if a Tua Tagovailoa falls, he doesn't have the same bye as Lamar Jackson. He would stack with Will Fuller. Mainly going to also depend on the receivers that fall in this range. Adam Troutman goes, so essentially the question is, do we want Tua Tagovailoa or do we want a receiver? I think the receivers that we can get later on aren't going to be that big of a difference. But at the same time, we are weak on the position, only having these 6 guys. We're going to need 8 on this team, considering we're rostering 3 tight ends. We're probably going to have to go with another receiver here. We're going to go with the Randall Cobb. We just really have to. I don't think we have an option. Okay, so let's draft Cobb. Let's switch this back over so y'all can see the bottom here. Not in love with this team so far. Definitely not in love with this team. David Johnson at the 13-11. Happy to see David Johnson go off the board. Not really going to be looking at running back anytime soon. I think we do need to solve the receiver position. Tua Tagovailoa goes at the 13-12. Malcolm Brown in the 14th. So where are y'all moving Malcolm Brown versus Myles Gaskin if Malcolm Brown comes out and he's the starting running back again for Miami? If Malcolm Brown this weekend comes out and he plays significantly more snaps with the first team, and Myles Gaskin is running with the second team again, where are we making that switch? Like, where are you going and putting a Myles Gaskin? Is he dropping to the 9th round? And we have Malcolm Brown possibly jumping up to the 13th? Is it that simple, or are we going to have to make more adjustments than just that? We're just looking for receivers running routes, getting targets. I think we go AJ Green. Receivers running routes, getting targets. We're going to get our 8th receiver in here. We need 1 more quarterback, 1 more running back, 1 more tight end. But we're done at receiver. We're done at receiver. So guys, if this live stream hits, because the last live stream that we did, it hit like 500 something likes whenever I set that goal. Now, I'm not going to hold us to that same standard, so let's not necessarily say that. If this live stream hits, we'll call it 450. And I'm saying that with hesitation because I think there's a strong chance that we hit 450 if I say that. If we hit 450 likes in this live stream, we'll get another draft going after this one. Because last time we said this, literally the live stream jumped up like 100 likes like that. So if this live stream hits 450 likes by the time we get done with this draft, we'll get another one going. Okay, so AJ Green, we have... At this point, we want to see receivers going off the board because we're done at receiver. We've drafted 8 guys. Now, the 8 guys we have, not necessarily great, but it is what it is. So I think we want to see receivers kind of starting to fly off. Beach Ball says, who is the best player to stack with Antonio Gibson this year? You really don't want to be building in a stack with Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson has standalone value, to be honest. I mean, that's like saying who's the best player to stack with in Austin Eckler. I mean, maybe you go get Justin Herbert. It's not a big deal, though. Okay, so Baker Mayfield at the 14-12. And also, we probably would have preferred one of these quarterbacks falling back to us. It is interesting to see Ben Roethlisberger go here at the 14-10. I don't necessarily agree with that. Let's go through and let's see if there are any wild constructions so far in this league. Okay, so this team here went with only 4 running backs. I think that is very interesting. when you spend so much of the running back position on top. Girthquake has CMC, Trey Sermon, Damian Harris, Alexander Madison. So I'm assuming Girthquake probably gets at least one more running back. At tight end, he has Darren Waller, Noah Fant. Noah has CeeDee Lamb. Noah, my man, I have to give you some crap for this. Josh Allen at the 412. I don't know what Josh Allen accomplishes for you here. I mean, just going through and like looking at what you could have had later on. Like, would you prefer the combination instead of Josh Allen, Jamar Chase? Would you prefer getting like a Travis Etienne or just say a Miles Sanders? Do you prefer Miles Sanders? And then down here, possibly instead of getting a Trey Sermon, getting an Aaron Rodgers? Like, do you prefer Rodgers and a Travis Etienne or Miles Sanders? Your choice. Or do you prefer Josh Allen, Trey Sermon? I probably prefer the Rodgers side, to be honest. And also, I mean, you could consider doing Wilson instead. Really, any of the quarterbacks in that range. I honestly don't really like the Josh Allen pick. Okay. So Rashad Penny at the 1506. Okay, so let's switch this back over. You know what? I never even checked. Actually, no, I did have Myles Gaskin. Did I say 4% of leagues? No, I have Myles Gaskin in 6.2% of leagues, which is less than average. But at the same time, I mean, with Myles Gaskin, we have very few leagues with high buy-ins with them. We only have $120 on Myles Gaskin. That's not bad at all. I guess we've been drafting him in the $5 leagues for whatever reason. Okay, so now that we're on the clock, we can't look receiver. We're one of running back, quarterback, tight end to finish this draft off. I'm sorry, we're two tight ends, right? Yeah, we need two tight ends. So we probably get an Anthony Firkser, who is, for whatever reason, my highest owned tight end so far in these drafts. But I mean, I just think that we kind of put ourselves in a lot of situations where we kind of have to draft three, and he's right in this range. I hate a Jared Cook. So a lot of times we're going with an Anthony Firkser here at the 15-10. And then from here, we're no longer looking. Actually, no, we still need a tight end. I lied to you. We're still looking at tight end. So Tyrell Williams goes. We love seeing these receivers go. I mean, we have no need for receiver. I guess I Am Dreams only has 6 receivers, so we're probably going to see him go with another receiver right here. I hate that he takes Austin Hooper. How does he take Austin Hooper? What receivers does he have? I guess he needed another tight end regardless. So I guess he just finishes out the draft with receiver. Yeah, he goes Brashad Perriman. So now here, we kind of have a rule that we have to get a second quarterback if we're drafting 2 quarterbacks by the time we're in the 16th round, if we're at this side of the draft room, because in the 17th, we'll have nothing falling back to us. So if we're looking for, all these guys are going to be in the same tier. If we're looking for any potential stacks, I don't see any. So we possibly just go with a guy that we prefer over the rest. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like to see this. Oh, we need to check the buy. Okay, this is a different bye week. We're going to go with Daniel Jones. Okay, so with the Daniel Jones, the thesis behind it is this is someone that does have some rushing upside. He gets Kenny Golladay. He gets Kadarius Toney. He gets Saquon Barkley, all added into the offense. Now, yes, it's concerning that he's behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Of course, you do not like to see that. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones of the 1603, I think, is going to be a fine selection. It's not exciting, but it is what it is. And we can't risk having one of those other guys making back to us in the 17th round. We kind of have to take Daniel Jones here. Okay, so I know Chadwick's saying he likes Donald Parham. Guys, I'll say a lot of people kind of came on Parham a while ago whenever we did have Hunter Henry signing elsewhere. But as soon as Jared Cook signs, you kind of have to kill that buzz just because it's fun to look at a player and go, well, he's the more exciting option. If you're playing in a large field tournament, sure, in the last round, go out there and draft them. I would actually say I'm not drafting him now because there are going to be a lot of teams with exposure to him. So maybe it would have been a good idea to do about a month ago when nobody was drafting him. But now that there are a lot of teams drafting him, I don't necessarily like the idea, to be honest. Steve says, Daniel, 17 fumbles, lost in 2 seasons. Jones, yeah, it is what it is. And JK1RB says, you don't like Carson Wentz over Daniel Jones. The big thing with Carson Wentz is we just don't know if he's going to be ready. Actually, you know what? I think you make a great point in that when we draft Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd round, we're already making a bet that this Indianapolis Colts offense is going to be on track, and this is going to be a team that is productive at the beginning of the season. So I think that maybe you're right in that we should have been going with a Carson Wentz potentially at the end of the 17th because you could have seen a Wentz falling to the end of the 17th. So we should have That's a great point. I think we made that mistake. When we have Jonathan Taylor here, when we have a Lamar Jackson to hold us afloat for the beginning part of the season, we probably should have gone with Zach Ertz at tight end or Ramondre Stevenson at running back, and then got Carson Wentz in the 17th round. I think that's a great point. Andrew says, I used code FLOCK to load up my Underdog fantasy account with stacks and stacks. Mason sent the draft guide within minutes. One of the best values for sure. My man, thank you so much for coming out with that just great review. And yeah, like I said, guys, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, which is where we draft every single night. I could not get enough of Underdog Fantasy. When you use promo code FLOCK, you get our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 tiers and rankings that are going to be updated all the way to the season. They add $25 to your account when you use promo code FLOCK, so you can go in real money fantasy football drafts. There's nothing more fun. There's nothing more fun. Unexpected Savage says, what is Carson Wentz's bye week? Okay, Wentz goes to the 1707, so maybe it wouldn't have even played out for us to get Carson Wentz in the next round. And Carson Wentz's bye week is week 14, so we wouldn't have had to worry about that with Lamar on week 8. Week 8 is actually a really nice bye, and that very few teams are on it. So now we need a running back and a tight end. RB tight end. Jerick McKinnon's less appealing now that we do have I'm sorry. I just completely blanked. Darwin Thompson getting touches with Patrick Mahomes in this last preseason game. I'm just really thinking here what we're trying to do with this turn. So Eric Ebron was someone that I was drafting a little earlier on. But I think we need to draft Eric Ebron. We need to drop Eric Ebron down. And once we see Pat Frymuth getting snaps with the first team in week 1, that's extremely concerning. Big reason we were drafting Eric Ebron is assuming that Pat Frymuth was going to be literally nothing year 1. So now I don't think Eric Ebron's even draftable. So we're going to get Dawson Knox there, and we're going to get should we get another running back? The thing is, if this was a tournament, I would not be getting another running back. But with this being a 12-man league, I think it makes sense to do it. All right, because that receiver, we would get a Dwayne Eskridge. Let's just get Justin Jackson. Okay, wait. Let's see what it's saying. Okay. So we got injured in the preseason game for the Chargers. Do we just take Boston Scott instead? Let's just take Boston Scott. We're just looking for a running back that's going to have a small role on his team. But Robert coming out with a donation says, 102 thoughts. I had to play catch up when I didn't draft a wide receiver in round 3. Yes, sir. Let's go through. Let's check out the 102. And so here at the 102, Dalvin Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, did you have to play catch up at receiver? I mean, you have A-Rob, Adam Thielen. Then at running back, I'll say, obviously, I do not like Mike Davis, but getting him at the 6'11", I think that is decent value there. So I really like this draft. I will say I probably prefer getting Keenan Allen over Allen Robinson, especially knowing that teams in this range are a lot of times looking at a Justin Herbert. So I do prefer Keenan Allen over Allen Robinson. Beyond this, I like the Jacobs. Probably prefer Miles Sanders, but that's just slightly. Mike Williams, Matthew Stafford. This Matthew Stafford selection to me doesn't make that much sense. I mean, knowing who you could have gotten later on, I think we probably prefer passing on him here. Like you could have gotten a Joe Burrow in the 10th instead. So I don't really like this Matthew Stafford selection. Logan Thomas, Terrace Marshall, Justin Fields. Also, I don't think you need to be getting 3 quarterbacks. Please, if someone knows that I'm wrong in saying this, fill me in and let me know the math behind it. But I think getting 3 quarterbacks when you have Stafford, Fields already, I don't agree with the Cousins pick, to be honest. I think you need to get another. Yeah, man, thank you for asking me my opinion, because this team, I'm going to tell you right now, I think this team's close to dead, to be completely honest. I really want to go back to this draft. Let me pull this back up. Because if we look construction-wise, we just have to think that this is a format where you're starting 3 receivers every week and a flex. And we look at it, you have A-Rob, Adam Thielen, Mike Williams, Terrace Marshall, Traquan Smith, Deshaun Jackson. You have 6 receivers here. even if we assume that you're going to have a running back in your flex every single week, which you will, you're going to be punting wide receiver 3 so often that it didn't make sense for you to go out and for you to draft. Honestly, the Samaje Perine pick here made no sense. You needed to go with the receiver over Samaje Perine. Perine's never going to do anything for this team. And also, I think you need to go with the receiver over Cousins. I think you needed 2 more receivers in this build, to be honest, my man. I really think you needed that. But let me switch this over. And thank you, my dudes, for everybody coming out to this live stream. So we didn't get as many likes on the stream for us to keep going, but I really hope y'all enjoyed it. And like I said, guys, please use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Get our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 rankings and tiers. And if you did use promo code FLOCK, all you need to do is shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord. If you don't have social media, that's completely fine. I'm going to send out a link to our Discord chat. This is a completely free fantasy football group chat. You can shoot me DMs here. You can talk to 4,000 people about fantasy football here. It's literally no bogus. I'm not trying to get you sign up for some email list or anything. You just click a link, you choose your nickname, you're in the group chat. It's that simple. So let me grab the link. I'm going to spam it in the live chat real quick. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. And let's go through and send this out. I just spammed it. And yeah, that should be it, my dudes. Thank you all for coming out to the live stream. And I will see y'all in the live stream tomorrow because we're live streaming